Good week, sure. Do you know yourself?
Excellent, good stuff.
And bank holiday weekend and all of that.
So we'll not see you to Tuesday.
Yeah, you're not in Monday either,
Not
are you?
at all.
Not at all. So what would you
Not the
do?
wages I'm on. You must be joking.
I'll not even go there.
Anyway, have a good weekend.
Have a good show, all right?
Take care of yourself. It is the 9 till noon show. We kick off on Fridays, of course, with the Friday panel, and we'll introduce them to you after we get a news update. And it is over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The need for more apprenticeships has been highlighted at 2 council meetings in Donegal this week. At the full council meeting, members agreed to write to Education Minister Norma Foley and Higher Education Minister Simon Harris, asking them to provide more course places and supports to get people training to be electricians, plumbers, plasterers and block layers. The issue was also discussed at a meeting of Donegal's Economic Development SPC, with members stressing the need for more skilled tradespeople in Donegal. Councillor Donald Mandy Kelly says he submitted his County Council motion before Minister Harris's visit to the county last week. He welcomed the commitments made by the Minister and said the response to the defective block crisis makes the issue even more pressing.
This county is terrible, the amount of mica properties is there, and we're going to need people to fix these, and we're going to need skilled workers, the likes of block layers, electricians, plasters, plumbers, and at the minute they're not there. We have young people leaving the country every week, heading for Australia, Canada and further afield, and I think it's important going forward that we try to do everything that we can here as a council, and that the government do everything that they can as well to try to entice young people to stay here in Ireland and work in the country, and particularly here in Donegal.
Fishermen want their vessels to be viewed as places of business. In a recent meeting of Donegal County Council Fisheries Committee, members said that fishermen should qualify for more business supports in order to maintain their work. Chairperson of the committee, Councillor Niamh Kennedy, says what happened behind the scenes, usually at home in terms of bookkeeping, proves that fishermen are in fact running a business. The meeting also heard that the Fishers Local Action Groups, otherwise known as FLAG, have left fishermen feeling overshadowed by tourism efforts.
That has come up time and time again with FLAG, where it's obviously appreciated in a lot of coastal communities and for diversification. However, it has missed the boat, pardon the pun, when it comes to the fact that it's the fishermen, the people who are out there catching the fish, that are not getting any funding from this FLAG funding. And it's them that perhaps it should be looked upon at first and see what helps that they can be given to sustain their fishing and their livelihoods in the coastal communities.
Farmers throughout the country have vowed to continue protesting against EU regulations of the industry. Last night, farmers in their thousands protested in solidarity with their European counterparts, who say EU bureaucracy is severely impacting their livelihoods. This included a demonstration from Manor Cunningham to Letterkenny and back, causing some disruption to the Polestar roundabout. Munster Regional Chair of the IFA, Conor O'Leary, says there's broad support for farmers to continue their protest.
We had huge issues all through the tail end of last year. We see Europe out now on much the same issues as that we were out on in 23. So I would have to say certainly the appetite for it is extraordinary. But again, it's a balance between getting your message across and not disenfranchising the general public.
And looking to weather today will be relatively mild but mostly cloudy and a dull day with some scattered outbreaks of light rain and drizzle. Highest temperatures of 11 to 13 degrees. That's all for now. Back again at 10 o'clock.
Hello class, welcome to Burglar Boot Camp, where we teach you how to get into houses and keep you out of jail. Now there's one house you should never even attempt. It's the Phone Watch House. They respond in just 15 seconds to break-ins and smoke. 15! Ringing the owners, neighbours, siblings, and then the guards. I got one for my own place, purely for research, of course.
Get the alarm burglars fear the most. Don't be alarmed, be phone watched.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. It is 4 minutes past 9 on this Friday, the 2nd of February 2024. You're very welcome along to the 9 till noon show, and it is a Friday. Coming up a little later on, Seamus Gunn's going to be joining us to answer your legal questions. So you can use the opportunity now to get in touch if you wish. 086 60 25000, 086 60 25000, or give us a call on 07491 25000. You can watch the show, of course, on your smart TV or your Fire Stick or Google TV. TV. Just go to the YouTube app, type in Highland Radio Ireland, and we're across all your mobile devices as well on Facebook, Highland Hub, Highland Radio News and Sport, and stay in touch with us. All right, let's say good morning to our guests today as we look over some of the big stories of the week. We'll say good morning first to Dr. Peter O'Rourke, a retired consultant orthopaedic surgeon. Good morning to you, Peter.
Morning, Greg.
Great to have you on board as always. Lorraine Thompson's the Regional Director of the Donegal Youth Services. Hi, Lorraine.
Morning, Greg.
Good morning to you. I feel like it's ages since we've had you on. It's great to have you back.
It's been a while. Yeah, I've been busy, Greg, but I'm back now.
Well, it's not for the want of us asking you. And also Councillor Jack Moore, Sinn Féin Councillor in the Municipal District of Inishowen. Good morning to you, Jack.
Morning, Greg. Thanks for having me.
No, it's our pleasure. Okay. I suppose the big story of the week, devolved government in Northern Ireland will be restored after a 24-month hiatus following a decision by the DUP. It had been blocking the work of an Assembly and Executive over concerns about post-Brexit trade arrangements. But now the DUP has agreed to re-enter the institutions after an agreement which saw the UK government pass new legislation at Westminster at breakneck speed indeed. The deal has been agreed, but the practicalities of kicking devolution back into gear are still playing out, but it should be all done and dusted by tomorrow. I'll stay with you, Jack Murray. I mean, obviously, this is good news, and particularly good news for the people of Northern Ireland.
Absolutely, and it's long overdue. It's something that we've been waiting on for about 2 years now. I think it's good for workers, for the people of the north of Ireland. And I'd say it's about time. I know the parties are meeting today to finalise agreements, and hopefully Stormont will sit tomorrow. And we've seen the consequences of strike action across the north and the demands of the hundreds of thousands of public sector workers there. So hopefully that'll all be resolved. The action can be taken, money be put back in their pockets, and services can be delivered at the highest standard, hopefully across the north. And I suppose it's a very historic day, very significant in that we will have an Irish Republican sitting as First Minister of North of Ireland in a state that was designed for that to never happen. So, and of course, Michelle O'Neill will be acting to represent all people of the six counties of all traditions, but nonetheless, it's extremely significant. For the first time ever, it won't be a unionist sitting in that office. So, it's welcome all around, but it's hugely significant.
Do you think it will last? I mean, obviously, there is a lot of infighting, it would appear, within the DUP on this. Some seeing it as a surrender deal, as a sellout, but maybe enough of the view that this is the only way forward for the DUP and the Assembly.
I hope it does. I can't predict what's going to happen. I hope it does. I think it's the best for everybody. And in the north, I suppose that question is better put to like Jeffrey Donaldson, if he can keep everybody in tow. Obviously, there's very disgruntled elements and the extreme elements of loyalism that are going to try and disrupt this and going to try and bring it down. I hope that Donaldson and his people can do enough to convince the elements of unionism as to the merits of keeping a dissolved assembly to deliver services for all the people, because we've seen how negative an impact the collapse of the assembly had on the people in the north. So hopefully it'll hold strong, and we'll be doing everything we can. Michelle O'Neill will be doing everything she can in the office of First Minister to represent everybody of all traditions and to convince them of the need of directly locally elected representatives.
And finally, just before I bring in our other guests, did you ever think this day would come?
I always believed it will come. I've been involved in politics for about 20 years, trying to work towards this day coming. I've been involved in different constituencies in the north. So I've been active in different election campaigns, and I've always been optimistic. So I've always believed that we could have a First Minister in the north. I do believe we can have a Taoiseach in the south as well, and ultimately working towards a Push United Ireland.
Lorraine Thompson, I mean, a lot of people criticise governments all around the world, but I think really for any country you need a functioning government, and we've seen the negative impacts on Northern Ireland there has been over the last 2 years, not least in public sector pay, but also investment in education and health, and just having people that are actually representing the people on the ground. So it is a good day if they finally get it over the line.
Yes, I think so. It's hard to believe that there hasn't been a government in place for 2 full years. You do wonder who's going ahead making decisions and how many decisions have been delayed as a result of not having a sitting government. If any of us stepped away from our positions for 2 years, time moves on. and people are left wanting and waiting. I would imagine behind the scenes you have the public servants getting on with it and doing the jobs that they're paid to do. But within that, being harangued and not being able to progress decisions, I can't imagine what it's like for the people of Northern Ireland sitting for 2 full years waiting on that. So yes, I would say it's absolutely welcome, and I hope, as Jack has said, that now they're there, they'll be able to get on with things. I'm not a politician, obviously, but reading between the lines, I see there's a lot of disgruntlement there. But I think there's an 80-page document. I haven't read it, obviously, myself, but the devil's in the detail. But yeah, I think if they put the people first, that's what they need to do. Put the people first, get the services that need to be back on track, and hopefully get some kind of stability.
Yeah, and as you say, the devil's in the detail, but often that detail's open to interpretation, and you can always frame it, I suppose, in a certain way to match what you want, but hopefully it's not enough to derail what seems to be going on now. Peter O'Rourke, there are some that might say really that they had to be blackmailed into government by the withholding of money, and maybe Northern Ireland was doing okay without a government. I don't know.
I don't think it was doing that well without a government. I think the most important thing is once the executive starts sitting again is get all the bits of legislation, all the money they need to from Westminster and get the services up and running and improve the pay structures for all the various public body workers in the North. I wouldn't hold out much hope that it will last for a hell of a long time. I think unionism is so fractured. Having grown up at a time when there was a unionist party 40 or 50 years ago. Now it's so fractured that all it will take is something like this in disgruntlement for the DUP to suddenly become the small unionist party and a more extreme form of unionism to come to the fore, and then come an election, which I think is due in the next 12 months or so, and you'll end up in the same situation. So I just hope that whatever time the executive is actually functioning, they get a lot done, because I wouldn't hold much hope that in a year's time there'll still be a functioning executive, but that's me being cynical.
Some within unionism say that this deal and the concessions from the British government actually ensure that we won't see a united Ireland any time soon. Others say the events over the last number of years means we're edging ever closer to a united Ireland. And quite interesting that conversation is being had just as they're about to get over the line and back into government together. Do you have an opinion, Peter, as to whether or not this is easing us closer to united Ireland or not?
I don't think it'll make an awful lot of difference. It'll harden attitudes of the people who are very much against a united Ireland, and once that happens, it'll slow progress. But ultimately, I think nothing's going to happen in the short term, and throwing the arguments out now probably doesn't help the situation, especially as the Assembly is just getting back into to function again. But the devil is in the detail, and the one thing nobody has really mentioned is whether this 80-page document is going to be acceptable to the EU. So I mean, that's the other reason I think it's important that they get as much done as they can in the next month or two, because the EU might throw a spanner in the works, because as with everything, an 80-page document, the devil is in the detail, and sometimes the details may be not acceptable to everybody.
Jack, your party leader this week spoke of us edging towards a united Ireland. Do you allow yourself a time frame in your mind for when you think that might happen?
Oh, let's see the next decade. Of course, I'll a solid planned process to make for as peaceful a transition as possible. But as I said before, Michelle O'Neill in the office of First Minister is a thoroughly decent woman. I know her well, but I think she has a huge role to do in this now. She needs to show the respect, the mutual respect that an Irish Republican can do in that office, and show unionism that they've nothing to fear from the United Ireland. Show them that their traditions, their culture, their nationality, so be it, will be welcomed and cherished in United Ireland. And I do think she will act as a First Minister for all and show that the future can be bright in such an island.
All right, quick break and more from Lorraine, Peter and Jack after these.
Show with O'Hara's of Foxford, introducing our new 18-hour fermented sourdough bread. A winner with the whole family.
Don't know if you know Alice and Pat. Late 40s, couple of kids, been together 17 years. Never married, of course, but that's not a problem. Until something happens, and suddenly words like unmarried, inheritance, and substantial tax bill enter the equation. You never need proper estate planning. Until you do. That's why the experienced team at McElhenney & Associates are here to help. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney & Associates Solicitors, Stranola.
Mátá symptom virus, flu nó COVID-19 bar susaglacha agus fannach sa bhaile. Mar ní amháin go méid tú ag tuairt aird it hain, beidh tú ag cosint daoine eile freisin. Daoine tá mór leat, agus daoine nar casa ort fiú, a téitá a bheith in mhail níos mó. Agus ná déon darmid go bhfuil cóirla ar hse.ie chun tú a chur ar de chean léim a ríis. Ó aimimeach na seirbhíse sláinte.
In the final clearance of Watson Menswear, there's great savings across top labels. A great selection of footwear, shirts and knitwear, half price. Selected suits and kids' clothing, also half price. There's dress shirts, 2 for €40, and denims, 2 for just €70. Don't miss out on some great bargains in the final clearance now on at Watson Menswear, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at watsonmenswear.com. Confirmation wear also now in stock.
Ar an 8ú Márta, iarfar ar an bhótáil I ngá referin. Baineann an chéad referin leis a gaoth naithníonn ar munreacht tailig, agus mallan an dara ceann téacs nua a chur an áit na foclíochta atá ann hana hain, chun aitheantas a thuairt de chóirim leistigh de heilig. Curfar leabhrán ag míniú an dá leasú ar fáil de hithe cónathe ar fud na héirim. Nu feich ar electoralcommission.ie /referendums. Is sé de vóta do rá. Mar sin bí de vótálaí ar an 8ú Márta. An Comisiún Tábhachain. Comisiún Neamhspleách Tábhachain na Héireann.
Caller says Northern Ireland can only had a government for 2 years out of 10 because of Sinn Féin and the DUP. Another caller says, this week I listened to people wanting to ban vapes, but there was debates in the Dáil about legalising cannabis. This country is good crack. Quick one on that. I mean, Lorraine, they keep trying to have the conversation about legalising drugs, not just cannabis, actually. Do you have a view on that? It is kind of interesting that we're talking about vapes bad, cannabis not so bad.
Well, in relation to the debate about vapes, I think the interesting part of that for me is the environmental approach, getting it over the line as opposed to the health approach. So the fact that you can buy a disposable vape for, I think it's something like €5 or €8 or something like that, and they're throwaway and they're impacting on the environment, never mind people's health. We've always known that cannabis, for example, is a gateway drug for vapes. Now,
people don't really like when it's described as a gateway drug. Those that are in favour of its decriminalisation say that that's not the case. Lots of people drink and they don't necessarily go on to do other stuff.
Yes, I guess there's a school of thought for both there. But in relation to the vapes and having the THC within it, the fact that young people, for example, could be buying vapes or getting vapes, acquiring vapes, and they don't realise what's in it. In relation to legalising cannabis, there's that notion of, people having their own personal supply and that would take it off the black market. And I know there's loads of health information there around its availability for things like sleep and anxiety and stuff like that. So I do think there's a school of thought there. If it was legalised, it could be maybe legislated for better so that people would have better access to it. We have obviously all the CBD oils, you can get them in different countries and stuff like that. And I see a lot of people moving towards ones that would have more potency. Yeah. So I think, there is definitely an argument for legalising it.
I think we'd all sort of agree that disposable vapes in particular, or anything that sort of encourages the access to vaping to young people, needs to be done away with. Peter, do you have a view on that ongoing old chestnut of whether cannabis should be legalised?
I don't. know that it would make a hell of a difference. I mean, if it was legalized, you'd still get people having an illegal market for it because the illegal market might be cheaper. It's like cigarettes. The amount of people we hear coming through Dublin Airport with suitcases with tens of thousands of cigarettes from Eastern Europe, which are cheaper. So even if you did legalize it, I don't know that it would do away with the illegal drug trade. It is effectively a gateway drug, and it's in the same way as vaping can lead on to cigarette smoking as well, because having seen people outside bars having a cigarette and then when they finish the cigarette having a vape, I think vapes were brought in supposedly for health reasons to stop people smoking. That didn't work.
The only thing about that is though, we allowed, if there is an argument for that, we allowed for years, the Americans did this 6 or 7 years ago, we allowed them to market particular flavours, sexy designs, front of house advertising right behind the person serving you in the shop. That to me was it's shameful really, because now we don't even really have a full knowledge of how many young people are vaping, but a lot of them are vaping. And nicotine addiction, and I know this, nicotine addiction, it stays with you forever even if you don't continue to take nicotine. It's sad. I find it really sad for them.
It's ironic because nicotine is a toxin, it's a poison, it's a neurotoxin, yet in small doses people find it enjoyable. But I think it just goes to show you the power of three big groups, big pharmacy, the petrol companies and the cigarette companies. I mean, for years in America, I remember seeing an ad from the 50s, which was portrayed with doctors smoking in their white coats with stethoscopes around their neck outside a hospital, advertising a brand called Springfield, the cigarettes smoked by doctors. I mean, that's how ridiculous it is. The cigarette industry knows that cigarettes were bad for years, but they still promoted them. They're now getting into the vaping industry. And when you go into a shop now and see hundreds, in a small shop, you'd see hundreds of different types of vapes for as little as 3 for a tenner. I mean, it's big business, it's big money. Shopkeepers are making money out of it. The companies are making money out of it. So good luck trying to stop it. You may limit it in some ways, but you're never going to stop it. They've let the cat out of the bag and they're never going to get it back in.
Jack, do you have a position on the legalisation or decriminalisation, or I really don't know what status we're in at the moment, but as it relates to cannabis use?
Yeah, I'm fairly agnostic on it. I know the Constitutional Assembly is going to discuss and make recommendations, but I think there is an argument for regulation and protection of it. I don't think there's any use in stigmatising those who use it or criminalising those who use it. I think there's plenty of international examples where there's been a lot of good by regulation, taking it away from the drugs trade, internet or black market, taking on board everything that Peter said as well, obviously. But I do think there's room for it to make it safer and rather leaving it in the hands of criminals to control.
Or just try and do more to deter people from taking it to begin with, and try and stop it getting into the country. That's another angle.
Oh, and I have to say, like, the drug trade is just a scourge on our communities. It's becoming more and more widespread. We know that more and more young people are using not just cannabis, but also cocaine is now rampant within our communities, and that needs to be tackled head on. The criminal gangs that are controlling that need to be taken head on, and look, people need to be educated not to get involved in the first place. But I still do believe that there probably is room for regulating, making safer, something that does exist in communities at this moment in time.
It does exist, that's true. The deposit return scheme got underway this week. It's aiming to tackle single-use waste and reduce litter. The scheme will see the price of products sold in eligible containers increase. However, the deposit can be reclaimed by returning the container to designated drop-off locations which have been established at retailers around the country. The initiative applies to PET plastic bottles and steel and aluminium cans with a capacity between 150ml and 3 litres. But there has been criticism, of course. Small businesses say it leaves them at a disadvantage. Many can't afford these machines, while people who recycle at home will now be encouraged to collect that waste and then potentially drive to a shop to recycle. There's a lot of people get their shopping delivered to them. There is no return system through that means, if you know what I mean. Will it achieve the aim the Greens are saying, Lorraine, of reducing litter and increasing recycling? We heard from a minister yesterday, the Green Minister, suggesting that that people who now currently drive around our beautiful county chucking bottles out of the window along with their fast food wrappers and all of that will now instead put them on the back seat and go to their local shop and stick them in a hole for 15 cents. Do you think that's going to happen, Lorraine?
You sound very cynical there.
I am actually, to be honest with you. I can't believe I didn't mask that better.
I'm interested. I'm interested to see how it plays out. I think, like everything, there's going to be some teething problems. I think it's a good thing, first of all. I think the people that throw their litter out the window will continue to throw their litter out the window. I think that's a particular mindset of a person that does that. That's why I don't think this is going to change them. That being said, listen, we're going to have to pay more for these bottles and cans. So it's in our best interest to bring them back to whatever shop we're going to. We are all now driving around, well, pretty much all of us, with plastic bags in our boots. We never thought we would do that. But we've got into the habit of it, when they brought in the plastic bag levy.
Reusable bags, you mean, don't you? Yep.
Oh, the plastic reusable ones.
Yeah, okay, get you, yeah. The forever bags.
Basically any plastic bag, Greg, to be honest.
True,
when you go to the supermarket,
you bring
reach
them
for
with
whatever's in the boot. And I see this being the same. Listen, I've been curious about these machines when I'm popping in and out of grocery shops, wondering what they were about. Did a wee bit of reading about it this week. And I do think, listen, it's about creating good habits. And I'm in favour of that. I'm in favour of anything that's going to help the environment. As a householder myself, I try and, make sure all the right stuff goes into the blue bin. Sometimes you're wondering, is this, should it be here, should it be there? But this is very clear cut, in terms
but Lorraine, you are obviously a model citizen and you're already placing your plastics and your aluminium in the recycle bin. With the knowledge, I presume you'd be hoping that they are going on to be recycled and turned into new bottles and cans. Are you not being punished, or maybe someone who is a little bit more religious in the recycling, then are you not being punished with a new scheme on top of that actually discourages you from putting these things into your bin?
I don't see it as discouragement. I mean, I think if it's bringing everybody together, and it's fostering a curiosity with kids, where good habits really should start, that they get into the habit for their generation to come of bringing these back to the supermarkets. I mean, it's a bit of an inconvenience, having to put them into whatever bag and remember to bring them back. Obviously, it's the additional cost. But as I say, that's what they did with the plastic bag levy. I think it has worked by and large. But it's new behaviours. And I think if, more people get on board with this, it's a good thing.
You see, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm kind of softening my view a little bit with the way you've articulated it about younger people and what have you. And we do know back in the past we did recycle stuff. I think it's when ministers come on and say that it's going to stop people throwing stuff out the windows that sort of builds my cynicism. But I can kind of get on board with where you're coming from, Lorraine. You should, maybe work for the government.
No, thank you.
Peter O'Rourke, what's your view?
I think anything that helps the environment and increases recycling is a good idea. I think the charges are a little bit excessive, but I suppose they have to be excessive to make it work. But if you're out walking about town and you buy a bottle of mineral or a can of a mineral, are you going to carry the can around all day and bring it home? You're going to end up throwing it in a bin somewhere. So an awful lot of the stuff that carries the levy is not going to be recycled. So there's an awful lot of money that someone's going to make on it, presumably the government. But the one thing I think that could happen and possibly would be a very good thing if charities set up large bins in areas where people could put things in and the charities could get the money. If you've ever been sitting at a roadside cafe anywhere around Europe, and you'll see someone, unfortunately on hard times, walking along with a supermarket trolley, asking you if you've finished your bottle of Coke at the table, can they have the bottle, because they're bringing it back to recycle it. So that has been going on in Europe for probably the last 10 years. But I think there is a potential here for charities to benefit from it rather than potentially the government benefiting from the levies that don't ever actually get returned to the purchaser.
Yeah, because the sugar tax was applied to these drinks, and I didn't really notice any difference in that, or did it discourage anyone from buying sugary drinks? But we can all be sympathetic, can we not, Peter, to the small businesses? These machines can cost north of €30,000. There's grants available about €6,000. They can opt out to some extent, but, you know, obviously the big boys, in inverted commas, you know, they've already had the machines in for 6 months and what have you. Do you sympathise with the smaller businesses? Would this have been a better scheme if the government had sort of made a little bit more money available for the smaller shop owners?
I don't really think it would make a lot of difference. I mean, if you're a small shop owner and you're selling someone a can of Coke, they're not going to stand in the shop, drink it, put it into the machine and get their 15 cents back on the spot. You're going to be walking around the street when you've finished your drink, and then it's a case of, do I hold on to this can till I go back tomorrow and get a 15-cent discount on my next can? You know, having small shops do it. People aren't going to be doing one can at a time or one bottle at a time and carrying around little receipts till they accumulate enough to go in and purchase something else. I mean, it's like going to the bottle bank. You don't go every day. You go every 3 months when you're embarrassed, and you go in the dead of night so people can't see how much you've actually been drinking.
And wrap the bottles of wine in bubble wrap plastic so they don't make too big a bang. Jack, what do you think?
Look, I think it's worth a go. I don't think Ireland's breaking any new ground on this. It's 14 EU countries have already implemented. It's proven to be going quite well. Again, I think it's great for children to encourage them to recycle. That can be the treat to go back to bring their cans back to the shop, and they might get sweets in return for it. I think that is good from an educational point of view.
More sugar, excellent.
well, sugar-free.
I know what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying.
One worry I would have is the advantage it'll give the larger supermarkets over the small corner shops, because if they have the big, large machines, if you're going to those shops to return your cans, you might be more likely to buy your litre of milk there rather than a small corner shop that doesn't have the same facility. So there's a wee bit of kind of worry I would have in that regard. But look, it's worked in 14 other European Union countries. I don't think it can't work here either.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I just feel we in a border area are a bit of collateral damage here in that there's no accommodation for any drinks that happen to be bought in Strabane if you happen to drink them in Lifford. You know, the aim is to help reduce litter on our roads. I'm not saying for a second that these cans come out of Northern Ireland or it's Northern Irish people that are dumping them, but you know, I would say there'll be an awful lot of cans and bottles in circulation in Donegal that can't be recycled anyway. And again, it's just like, and the minister said yesterday, he says, look, that's not ideal, right? And maybe we can get the North to do something similarly. But again, it's just another measure that really, it's for the many and not the few. And often us here along the border are the few that we just have to go along with it anyway.
I don't know. As we talked about earlier, we were sitting in the assembly. Maybe that's something that can be addressed there now that that's working. There's going to be loads of disadvantages to this. There's going to be loads of reasons for it not to happen. But I do think we need to improve our recycling. We need to look after the environment, and I think it's worth a go. With all those kind of worries aside, I think it's worth a go.
All right, you know.
I do think, Greg, just to say, in terms of litter, people who are prone to throwing things out the car window, if they spent 1 hour in their local area and took a black plastic bag out in a litter picker, they wouldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, of course. I can't get myself into the mind of someone that chucks that stuff out of the window. I mean, they're in their own area. Do you know what I mean?
Some of the stuff, I mean, we have done it here with community cleanups, and some of the stuff that people fire out their windows is awful.
Yeah, I've heard the stories. All right, so we'll be back with more from Peter, Lorraine and Jack after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford, introducing our new 18-hour fermented white bloomer, scoring the bronze at Blas na HÉireann.
Join Homeland and Nutrius Animal Feeds for their Future of Farming 2024 and the Donegal Silage Awards evening on Wednesday 7th of February at 8 p.m. in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Learn from industry experts on the evening, including Finbar O'Regan from the Department of Agriculture, Conor Brown from the ICBF, Adam Woods from the Irish Farmers Journal, and guest judge Andrew Wright, better known as Farm Theory NI on YouTube and TikTok. For more information, visit homeland.ie.
Farmer fury forces scap changes. For more in your Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Find out how the department has backtracked on controversial suckler scheme. Acres payment delays hit 28,000 farmers. New €8 sheep scheme. Farmers to be charged for unsold calves and marts. Fresh blow to future of nitrates derogation. The latest from the Barn Estate court case. Plus, could the county council inspect your farm? We have all you need to know.
All inside the Irish Farmers Journal. On sale now.
Sailor Bill returns to the Ballard Theatre on Saturday the 3rd of February, a night of music and crack with special guest Chelsea Evans. Tickets are €15, are available on the Ballard website at ballardartcentre.com or by calling to the Ballard Theatre front desk.
Oreo the robot is not just helping with service at Kelly's Diner, he's also adding a little twist to birthdays there. If you're celebrating at Kelly's, Oreo can even be persuaded to sing a very special happy birthday. It's a great treat for small kids and plenty of big kids too. For the chance to see and hear Oreo the robot in action, visit Kelly's award-winning diner today at Mountaintop Letterkenny. First Communion and Confirmation catering also now available.
Throughout Ireland, change is happening. Together, we can build inclusive communities that support and empower people living with dementia. Highland Radio, proud to support dementia. Understand together. From the HSE.
All right, you're welcome back to the programme. I've just been informed, actually, that there's going to be some announcements from Pope Francis a little later on as it relates to bishops, and we would know that Bishop Alan McGuckian is incredibly popular. He's been up here for quite some time, but he is likely to be on the move. We'll talk to you about that, bring you more about that a little later on in the programme, but it seems that he may be moving to be Bishop of Down and Connor. A caller says, I remember when young, growing up in London, calling at houses to collect bottles of mineral to return to the off-licence and get the reward of the deposit. This will take bottles off the road as it will be money maker for young people. Will the government tax them, though? Hi, regarding the new bottle system, can you just collect them and return at the end of the month to any shop, or do you need to return the bottle to the shop you bought it in? Would make sense that these can be returned to any shop regardless where you bought it, and possibly have them outside like a clothing bank. Well, a lot of them are outside, particularly with the bigger stores, and you can return them wherever you like, providing they have that recycle logo on them. Like Denmark, we need referendum on new EU migration pact to regain control of mass immigration policy. It's harming the prospect of our own children and grandchildren. We are looking to opt out of that and pay fines, but we talked about that early in the week, and we'll talk about it again later in the week. Hi, Greg. What will be done with the excess millions unclaimed money for recycling? It'll be ring-fenced for something or other, and we'll never know, perhaps. But listen, we'll find out. We're heading into that time of the year when the annual exodus of ministers and councillors, or heads of council reps, they head to far-flung parts of the world. It comes into scrutiny, of course. A total of 35 government ministers and ministers of state are travelling abroad for meetings and events relating to St Patrick's Day, along with Cam Corla, Sean O'Farrell, Cahirlock of the Shanna, Jerry Buttimer, and Attorney General Rosa Fanning. Green ministers' flights will rack up almost 11 tonnes of carbon emissions on St Patrick's Day trips to Brazil, the US, the Far East and other locations this year. That's the equivalent, just for the Green ministers, of a year's worth of emissions for two average family cars. Peter O'Rourke, can you understand why this might upset people, or do the ends justify the means?
The ends justify the means. Every country in the world would love to have a St. Patrick. I mean, when you think about, the rivers in America being turned green on St. Patrick's Day, and the Sydney Opera House being covered in green light during St. Patrick's Day, it is an incredibly strong promotional tool for Ireland. And the minister may be going on junkets, but any country in the world would give their eye teeth to have something as beneficial as that, giving you open access. I mean, when you think of it, every year the Taoiseach gets open access to the White House and sits down with the President of America. No country in the world would, give up on that.
But where's the benefit for regular people? Like, I mean, that's the argument we hear all the time. But people are struggling with the cost of living. They're seeing their young children emigrate. They can't afford homes. Like, at what point will this fantastic dividend from ministers flying all over the world be actually felt by your average person?
Well, you never feel it individually, but I mean, the fact that you have access to politicians from other countries, you can do business, the IDA are part of these groups, and it is very big. I was in Vietnam for Patrick's Day last year, and there was a big reception in a hotel. I wasn't at it because I wasn't there long enough, but all the local dignitaries were there, and access to business people, to government, etc., would not be possible in the same way any other time of the year. So I think it's a no-brainer that it's good for Ireland. People may, give out about all the ministers going on junkets, but believe me, I mean, if you're traveling to, say, China, some of the ministers are for a 2 or 3 day trip, and you're spending 24 hours in the plane, or if you're going to Australia or New Zealand to do the same, and then getting jet lag, coming back for a similar 24 hours in the plane and getting jet lag again, believe me, it's work. It's not sort of a jolly in the sense that people think it is.
Okay. Lorraine Thompson?
Yeah, I mean, I get it, Greg. I actually feel like I was maybe on your show in previous years talking about
we
the
do
same
it every
issue.
year. Yeah, we do this
It
every year.
comes up every year, yeah. I mean, I get the two sides of the argument. My personal opinion is I think that the trips are worthwhile. Now, I mean, how forensically you want to drill down into the impact, in terms of, people on the ground and how they feel that impact. I need to do a research project into that to see, have they opened more doors? Have they increased opportunities for Irish people? I think this year is the biggest year from what I read of the ministers travelling so many different countries. I didn't realise they went to so many different countries. And with Peter, in terms of if other countries could have a St. Patrick's Day, it's great. It opens doors for us as a very, very small country, and kind of brings us out there. It's fantastic. Other countries celebrate it. Just goes to show how many Irish people are all over the world. And it hones everything back to here. But like I say, I get it. This year, obviously, with the Palestinian crisis and the debate about whether there should be visits to the White House. I do think sometimes it's better to be in the room than out of the room, to be able to have that conversation, because you can't have it if you're not in the room.
I mean, that's obviously talking to some of the calls that for us to boycott Washington in support of the plight of the Palestinian people, but you believe that you're far better off to use those channels, keep them open to try and influence international policy?
Yes, and I would like to think that our Irish politicians are going out with that agenda, and I think that's the opportunity that they have, as Peter has said, in the room, for whatever duration that is, to put forward that agenda and to put it forward very strongly.
Is it too cheap an argument then, or is it a fair enough argument? There are people listening to this programme who we're bombarded every day and told every day, about the environment, how we need to protect the environment, how we have to make sacrifices, how we have to pay extra taxes. We've even told to take individual responsibility in how often we fly abroad. You know what I mean? That we have a responsibility in that regard. It does make that messaging more difficult when half the Dáil is flying all over the world, and we're being told the message is that don't worry about it because there's long-term dividends. We can't actually define what they are, but you have them. You'll feel them, maybe. I don't know.
I think they should be able to define them. And I don't know, has there been any longitudinal studies on this? But I think, there should be an opportunity to be able to track maybe, some of those visits to something more concrete and more tangible here. That's what I'm saying. I get the argument in terms of the impact on the environment and the cost and all of that. But does the end justify the means? I'm guessing these planes are going anyway. They're not hiring private jets.
Yeah.
They're getting on airlines that are going.
But for me to have a 3-litre SUV and to fly abroad 3 or 4 times a year, the ends justify the means, because it makes me happy and it's good for my, my mental and physical health. I get loads of vitamin D. If we want to justify anything, we can really, can't we?
Depends how articulate you are, though.
Yes, I suppose. Jack Murray, what do you think?
I agree with everything you said. You could argue it's a bit excessive. I think we're going to very obscure countries. So I don't know about the like Zambia and South Sudan, Ethiopia, and the entire cabinet table almost is gone. So there's an argument that that's probably a bit excessive. But I do think there is merit, particularly in the points we made in America. We're the only country in the world that has guaranteed audience with the American president for 1 day of the year.
And what is the benefit of that? Sorry, what is the benefit?
Yeah, the tangible benefits we've seen over the peace process and the Brexit negotiations. We've seen that Irish America stood up and intervened when we needed them. We've seen the interventions of Senator Richie Neal and Nancy Pelosi, who came to the Dáil and stood up for us against the British government at the time, who wanted to drive a hard border a couple of miles from where I'm sitting right now. That was long, painstaking diplomacy by different Irish politicians, different political parties. Because if we abandoned that access that we have, the British government would be the only people talking to the American government, and we probably wouldn't have had.
Okay, but that's all what's in it for us, and that's great. But I wonder how it might look to the people of Palestine, who us, hobnobbing, whining and dining with the people that are, not using their influence to try and stop it in a meaningful way, providing weapons, providing sort of international diplomatic cover to Israel. I mean, at what point do we say, right, this is really good for us, but let's get on the right side of history here. Let's make or take a moral stance. Your own party leader's heading over for the same, and you say, we'll express our dissatisfaction with what's happening in the Middle East, but we're also going over there to have our palms greased. And when I say our palms, I don't mean individually. I mean us as a nation.
No, absolutely. And obviously, this is an issue of concern. It's dominated a lot of the media, and I'm speaking to a lot of people who are concerned about that. I'll say this: I've been to Palestine. I've been to a refugee camp in Palestine. I've the refugee camp, which has just seen 3 children shot the night before I arrived. I've seen the apartheid state of Israel in action. Like everybody else, since October, I watched genocide unfold on my TV screen. So it's something I feel extremely strongly about. Now, I want my party leader to go over and look Joe Biden in the white of his eye and tell him that Ireland, that he is so fond of, is horrified by his country's military support of this genocidal regime. Now, I think if we were to boycott it now, it would be domestic news in Ireland for a day. But if we can go over to the biggest political arena in the world and tell CNN, Fox News, all the world media, that the Irish people are horrified at the American support, military support for a genocide in the Middle East, I think that is much, much more powerful.
And you're saying Mary Lou McDonald, if invited, is going to go on to American TV and use that strong language against the Americans?
Mary Lou McDonald has made it absolutely clear that she's going to use this as an opportunity to voice her support for the people of Gaza and an end to what has happened. The Palestinian ambassador to Ireland has asked that this is raised while there. She speaks on behalf of the Palestinian people, so I think we should take her guidance on this matter. But again, I have to say, if we were to boycott this, it'll be a domestic news story in Ireland for a day, and nobody else will hear about it.
Yeah, but these people represent us as a nation, and some of us as a nation aren't actually interested in news cycles. We're actually interested in this country doing the right thing. Politicians and parties are interested in news cycles because that's what determines their popularity or otherwise. But we as the population of this country perhaps need to be heard. What do we think? What's right for us? What's right for the people that claim to represent us in terms of their actions?
Yeah, and that's the point I'm making. I think we should be standing up for the people that we represent, because I'm getting, every day, people are contacting me about this and about the horror of what's happening. That's why I think we can intervene and make meaningful intervention at this moment in time. Like, if Mary Lou McDonald and Michelle O'Neill didn't go out, Leo Varadkar's going out, and he would be the only voice on behalf of the Irish people. And I don't think that he would speak as strongly, and I hope he proves me wrong on that, but I don't think he would speak as strongly as Mary Lou McDonald or Michelle O'Neill. So I think it's absolutely critical on this, because everybody wants to stand up for Palestine. The only debate or disagreement on this is on diplomatic strategy, whether or not it's more powerful to boycott or whether or not it's to go over and intervene over there. And I do think we're more powerful in Washington.
Lorraine or Peter, anything to add just before we take the last break?
No, I agree with Jack 100%.
Right.
Yeah, I agree totally. It is unfortunate and it's very irritating that Irish people are being labelled as anti-Semitic when we're not. We're anti-Zionist, and basically that is the difference. But unfortunately, propaganda and PR basically tends to gel the line between the two, and they are very, very different.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much indeed.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford. It took us 72 years to perfect our deliciously authentic Baker 51 sourdough bread. One bite and you'll agree true taste takes time.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Halliford. From garden furniture to kitchens, sofas and dining sets, all under one roof. Need a new mattress? Why not visit our sleep centre on the first floor? With a large range of quality beds and mattresses in stock and ready for collection or delivery. Relax in our coffee shop serving hot lunches daily. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Halliford.
At SEAT, we created the Terraco so people could enjoy an SUV with 7 seats. Then we made it so good looking that everyone kept saying, "Oh my, what is that? It's stunning." Then we got to wondering, what if we made it even better? So now you can get a limited edition 7-seater Terraco SE Tech with stunning 18-inch alloys, intelligent park assist, electronic hands-free tailgate, and comfortable heated front seats and steering wheel. The Terraco SE Tech, our best SUV, just got even better. Search SEAT Terraco.
Do you currently have vacancies that need urgently filled? Have you tried various ways to find new staff but didn't succeed? Let Highland Radio help you source and fill your current vacancies in the most cost-effective way. Simply sign up to our new job spot and we will tell our listeners about your vacancies both on air and online. Every Monday, Wednesday and Friday during our primetime shows, we will broadcast the latest job opportunities across the Northwest and into counties Derry and Tyrone. All job listings will be available online at highlandradio.com. For more information, contact the advertising team on 07491 25322 or email advertising@highlandradio.com. Highland Radio, we're here for you.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. Building a new home? Choose Grant's A++ rated Airona air-to-water heat pump and UFlex underfloor heating. Visit grant.ie.
Today will be a relatively mild but a mostly cloudy and dull day with some scattered outbreaks of light rain and drizzle, some mist and hill fog too, breezy with highest temperatures of 11 to 13 degrees. And I think that's the trend or the pattern throughout the course of this weekend. Right, yesterday we heard calls from a local councillor for the wearing of high-vis for walkers and cyclists to be mandatory. But some opposed the move, saying it's up to motorists to ensure they're driving in a way which allows them to see and respond to walkers or cyclists on the road. Peter O'Rourke, would you be in favour of it actually being the law for cyclists and walkers to wear high-vis?
It's a no-brainer, yes. When you think that car drivers have to wear a seatbelt, cyclists should wear a helmet, and high-vis is very important, especially in a rural county like Ireland or like Donegal, where there's an awful lack of footpaths. But it's one of my hobby horses. I mean, the RSA to me are a joke. They should be the ones promoting this. Instead, they show us ads with horrific accidents, which I must admit I turn to another channel. They show us ads telling drivers how to behave with cyclists who look like they've only just gone on a bike for the first time and expect you to give them so much room that you're driving in a ditch on the other side of the road. I mean, the RSA do not really do any good, and they're looking for an extra 6 million to promote things. I mean, they should be showing people how to drive on motorways. They should be telling cyclists how to behave. If you've ever been down in Dublin and watched a Deliveroo driver, cyclist going through a traffic lights, you have pedestrians who think they can cross the road anytime they like without looking around, and it's the responsibility of the driver. I'm sorry, there needs to be a great rethink by the RSA. And they need to actually tell people, other than car drivers, how to behave on the road, because at times they're like a parody of George Orwell's Animal Farm, where 4 tires bad, 2 tires good.
I'll come back to you, Lorraine Thompson.
Yes, I think it should be mandatory. I'm just curious as to how that could be policed. It always blows my mind when we start having conversations about enforcing the law in relation to something that keeps people alive. You would think the fact that it keeps them alive would change their own behaviours. That being said, I know that maybe it's not cool, or I don't know. I really don't understand why people don't wear the high-vis vests. They're readily available. They're free. You can get them from the RSA and lots of different sources.
Well, they were out of stock yesterday, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, there you go. So I was looking at an RSA report there just before I jumped on, and I didn't realise that in terms of pedestrian fatalities on the road, those aged 66 and over accounted for 51% last year. I don't know what our association would be, that it'd be more younger people. That it took that 58% of them took place in urban roads, which I would imagine would have had pedestrian crossings and footpaths, as opposed to this notion of it being in kind of more rural areas with no footpaths, and that nearly half of them took place between October and December. So obviously that idea of, the dark nights and stuff like that. So there's stuff around people's behaviours, taking a chance, going out and getting caught out, I don't know, without their high-vis vest, not anticipating it's getting dark before they come home, or taking a chance and running across the road.
I think we see it so routinely, though. We see it so routinely, people walking in dark clothes, particularly. I haven't really come across cyclists too much, to be honest with you, and I'm on the road quite a bit, but particularly walkers, I think. Jack Murray, what do you think?
I agree with what everyone's said. I'm more in favour of the carrot than the stick and things like that. I do think we should be encouraging more people, and the RSA really has a role to step up on it, maybe rather than the Gardaí at this moment in time. If the RSA were out in schools giving out more high-vis vests, and cycling clubs giving out more high-vis gear. Obviously, no cyclist should be out without a light, without a helmet, without being properly visible. I don't know. The mayor have handed over to the Gardaí and getting into police and stop handing out fines every time they see somebody. We should be encouraging people to look after themselves rather than enforcing it.
Yeah, but we do have to enforce seatbelt wearing. We don't just sort of try and carrot and not stick that. So.
Yeah, well, I suppose the guinea pig in this is Italy. That has, I think, it's the first country to bring in the mandatory high-vis vest, and they've reported no change in the number of fatalities with cyclists, pedestrians on the back of it. So it hasn't worked there. I'm not sure of the merits of it. I'm not opposed to it, but I always think the carrot is more powerful than the stick. But
Peter, I think sometimes because of the frequency of tragedy on our roads and because of the size of our country, I think sometimes for probably the right reasons stops us having honest conversations about, if someone dies in a car crash, were they wearing a seatbelt or not? Well, we can't really talk about that because we have to be sensitive about that, and I get that. And the same with pedestrians being knocked down or cyclists. Did they have a light or not? Were they wearing a high vis or not? Did that contribute to it? And Lorraine done a good job there of interpreting statistics, but she's having to interpret it because we never seem to be able to find the right time, because there's always just a tragedy that's passed, maybe to have a really frank conversation about this, and an honest one using proper information.
Well, the difficulty is I don't think you'll ever get the proper information. I mean, effectively, if there's ever an accident on the road, it is the driver who's responsible. So there isn't a lot of personal responsibility for many things in Ireland, but certainly if a pedestrian is hit by a car, it's the car's fault. If a cyclist is hit by a car, it's the car's fault. And unfortunately, when you have that sort of argument, then it's hard to persuade cyclists and pedestrians to actually behave themselves any better, because they never get blamed for anything. I mean, if you're in a courtroom and somebody's injured, it's the car which is insured, because the pedestrian isn't insured and the cyclist isn't insured. So in that circumstance, it's hard to persuade people that it's in their own best interests to be more careful. OK,
Peter O'Rourke, Dr. Peter O'Rourke, retired consultant, orthopaedic surgeon. Thank you for your time as always. Have a wonderful weekend. Jack Murray, always a pleasure. Take care of yourself. Thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. And last but not least, Lorraine Thompson, Regional Director of the Donegal Youth Services. Thanks so much, Lorraine.
Thanks, Craig. Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye. Take care of yourself. OK, that was our Friday panel, and we have loads of your comments, which we'll carry over into the next hour. Coming up after the news and the obituary notices, we will be joined by Seamus Gunn. He's going to be answering your legal questions, so stay tuned for that, please. But we will take that break, and then we will be right back.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford. It takes 18 hours to perfect our new 18-hour fermented sourdough bread. One bite and you'll agree true taste takes time.
Easy Living Furniture's biggest ever winter sale ends this Sunday. This is your final chance to avail of these amazing discounts, as this whopper winter sale must end Sunday. Absolutely everything reduced across sofa, dining, bedroom, mattress and accessories. Winter sale must end Sunday at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
When it comes to electrical waste recycling, we're pretty good with the big items like fridges, dishwashers and TVs. But what about those mystery cables or broken mobile phones? We throw them in a drawer, along with that ancient laptop that just might come in handy someday. The good news? You can recycle anything with a plug, battery or cable for free. And it couldn't be easier. For a list of drop-off points and participating retailers, just go to mywaste.ie. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Are you graduating this year? Venture has opportunities for ambitious graduates from the Northwest region to join its Financial Services Graduate Programme 2024. And with offices located in both Letterkenny and Derry London Derry, you can build a successful career as a financial analyst right here on your doorstep. Want to work with the world's leading investment banks? Join the multi-award winning team at Fintrue and become the future of financial services. Visit fintrue.com/grad to apply. Applications close February 12th.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonher Road, Donegal Town.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news at 10 o'clock. A Sinn Féin councillor says he always believed his party would hold the First Minister's seat in the North and that a Sinn Féin Taoiseach will follow. Councillor Jack Murray was speaking on this morning's 9 till noon show when he welcomed the imminent reformation of an assembly at Stormont. His party colleague Michelle O'Neill will make history by becoming the first Republican First Minister. Councillor Murray says years of work has led to this moment.
I always believed it will come. I've been involved in politics for a good 20 years trying to work towards this day coming. I've been involved in different constituencies in the North, so I've been active in different election campaigns, and I've always been optimistic. So I've always believed that we could have a First Minister in the North. I do believe we can have a Taoiseach in the South as well, and ultimately working towards Portugal United Ireland.
The need for more apprenticeships has been highlighted at two separate council meetings in Donegal this week. At a full council meeting, members agreed to write to Education Minister Norma Foley and Higher Education Minister Simon Harris for more course places and supports to see more trained electricians, plumbers, plasterers and block layers. The issue was also discussed at a meeting of the Council's Economic Development SPC, with members stressing the need for more skilled tradespeople in the county. Councillor Donald Mandon Kelly says he submitted his county council motion before Minister Harris's visit to the county last week. He welcomed the commitments made by the Minister and said the response to the defective blocks crisis makes the issue even more pressing.
This county is terrible. The amount of mica properties is there, and we're going to need people to fix these, and we're going to need skilled workers, the likes of block layers, electricians, plasters, plumbers. And at the minute they're not there. We have young people leaving the country every week, heading for Australia, Canada, and further afield. And I think it's important going forward that we try to do everything that we can here as a council, and that the government do everything that they can as well to try to entice young people to stay here in Ireland and working in the country, and particularly here in Donegal.
Fishermen want their vessels to be viewed as a place of business. In a recent meeting of Donegal County Council Fisheries Committee, members said that fishermen should qualify for more business supports to maintain their work. Chairperson of the committee, Councillor Niamh Kennedy, says what happens behind the scenes, usually at home in terms of bookkeeping, proves that fishermen are in fact running a business. The meeting also heard that the Fisheries Local Action Groups, otherwise known as FLAG, has left fishermen feeling overshadowed by the tourism industry.
That has come up time and time again with FLAG, where it's obviously appreciated in a lot of coastal communities and for diversification. However, it has missed the boat, pardon the pun, when it comes to the fact that it's the fishermen, the people who are out there catching the fish, that are not getting any funding from this FLAG funding. And it's that perhaps it should be looked upon at first and see what helps that they can be given to sustain their fishing and their livelihoods in the coastal communities.
18 people have now died on the roads so far this year, including one person in Donegal. The Road Safety Authority has issued an appeal ahead of the bank holiday weekend for drivers to slow down, not drink and drive, and to put away mobile phones. Bank holidays tend to be the most dangerous on the roads. Sarah O'Connor, Director of Partnerships and External Affairs at the RSA, wants no road deaths over the weekend.
The message is reminding people that a bank holiday and weekend driving in particular can be in times of increased risk on our road. So it's about making people aware of that as they make their travel plans. I suppose one of the times in particular that the Gardaí, when they have looked at the data, are particularly concerned about is actually this afternoon. So travel time, particularly from, let's say, midday onwards today, that can be a higher risk period.
Farmers throughout the country have vowed to continue protesting against EU regulations of the industry. Last night, farmers in their thousands protested in solidarity with their European counterparts, who say EU bureaucracy is severely impacting their livelihoods. This included a demonstration from Manor Cunningham to Letterkenny and back, causing some disruption at the Polestar roundabout. Munster Regional Chair of the IFA, Conor O'Leary, says there's broad support from farmers to continue their protest.
We had huge issues all through the tail end of last year. We see Europe out now on much the same issues as that we were out on in 23. So I would have to say certainly the appetite for it is extraordinary. But again, it's a balance between getting your message across and not disenfranchising the general public.
Looking now to weather, today will be relatively mild but mostly cloudy and a dull day with some scattered outbreaks of light rain and drizzle. It'll be breezy with highest temperatures of 11 to 13 degrees. That's all for now from Highland Radio News, back again at 11 o'clock. The obituary notices this Friday morning, February 2nd. The death has taken place in Glasgow of Patrick McGee, originally of Lunya, Derrybeg. His remains will be received in St Mary's Church, Derrybeg, tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. to repose overnight. Funeral Mass on Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m, with interment afterwards in Mahergallen Cemetery. Funeral Mass will be viewed live on Kieran Rorty, Funeral Director's Facebook page. The death has taken place of Gary Wallace, 444 Grove Cottages, Muff. Gary's remains are reposing at his late family residence, 444 Grove Cottages, Muff. Funeral leaving there tomorrow at 12:20 p.m. for 1 p.m. Requiem Mass in the Sacred Heart Church, Muff. Burial will take place immediately afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Wake House will be private from 10 p.m. Gary's Requiem Mass can be streamed live on mcn.live. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Ward 41, Altnagalvin Hospital, care of the immediate family, or Mr Kieran Connor of McClafferty Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Niall McGarvey of Ranafast. His remains will repose at his home today from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Rosary at 8 o'clock. House private after Rosary and on the morning of the funeral to family only. Funeral Mass in St Mary's Star of the Sea Church, Annagry, tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty Funeral Director's Facebook page. The death has taken place of Jim Curran, Fahar Port Nablad, Dunfanaghy. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral Mass in Holy Cross Church, Dunfanaghy, tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Mass can be viewed live on mcn.live. Family time from 10 p.m. Family flowers only. Donations in lieu if desired to Patient Comfort Fund, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of James Harkin Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Eddie Mullen, 22 Lambton Court, Strabane, reposing at his son Terry Mullen's home, 1 Ballygrove, Strabane. Funeral leaving his son's home tomorrow at 11:50 a.m. for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Melmount at 12:30. Interment afterwards in Strabane Cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to the Foyle Hospice, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time from 11 p.m. tonight. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has occurred of Bridget McLaughlin, neighbour, Old Post Office, Lisfort, and 6 Crana View, Cockhill Road, Buncrana. Bridget's remains are reposing at the Star of the Sea Church, Desert Tegney, where funeral mass will be celebrated at 11 a.m. this morning. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only. Donations if desired to Buncrana Community Hospital Patients Comfort Fund, care of any family member. The death has occurred of John McFadden, Ballybowes, Fulcarra. Remains are posing at St Finian's Church, Fulcarra, with funeral mass there this morning at 11 a.m, with burial in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral mass can be viewed live on mcn.live or Sweeney Funeral Director's Facebook page. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
You know when you're flying back from some winter sun, you take an epic cloud pic, but it's got your sunburnt reflection in the window. Well, the new Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra has built-in AI that removes reflections and even touches up your pic so well, you'll be drowning in fire emojis.
Galaxy AI is here. Buy now from Samsung and get up to €730 off when you trade in your old smartphone. Purchase by 29th of Feb. €730 based on Galaxy S23 Ultra 256GB. Values vary by model and condition. T's and C's apply.
And now, IMRO's 2023 Best Local or Regional News Programme. The Voice of the Northwest, the 9 till noon show with Greg Hughes.
And you're very welcome back to the programme. Good morning if you're just after joining us. We have Seamus Gunn from joining us to answer your legal questions. That's coming up for you shortly after the break. But I want to catch up on some of the comments that we didn't get to in the first hour. I can count the number of times that have been nearly knocked down on a zebra crossing because the cars won't stop when you be in the middle of the road. They just drive on. Hi, Greg. The terrible human genocide in Palestine should be categorised as Israelis' Palestinian children's Holocaust and put the genocide on a par with what took place during World War II, which it really is, says Raymond. Wrong, Greg. Count how many are going. Count the cost. Where are they going? No accountability. Red Sea crisis shall really put up the coal? I don't know what that is. Kenyan safaris, no thanks. Not out of my pocket, says Oshin. The ministers jetting off to the USA don't even think of representing us, the people of Ireland. They're strained at the leash to get away and enjoy themselves. If they thought anything about the people they represent, their time would be better spent at home trying to help house our ever-increasing homeless people instead of acting like spoiled brats. That comes in from Anne. Great to hear today a panel talking sensitively about real issues, or sensibly. I suppose that's another caller says that. I mean, there are other ways we could do it. I mean, you know, like, is anyone going to Birmingham, London, Glasgow, you know, Edinburgh, places where people come here to visit and spend? I suppose, I don't know, maybe they are. There is a map showing where people are going. What about the people in black on scooters and no lights? What's the law for them? Well, there's no law in as such. Scooters, they shouldn't be on scooters, really. That is the law. But when we talk about high vis for non-car users, I mean, you know, you can throw scooters in there as well. Where are all these jobs from all the St. Patrick's Day junkets? The ministers and RTE would be all agog boasting and bragging of them if there were any, yet they never say a word afterwards. Well, I mean, the argument is this country, for right or wrong, and it all depends on what job you're in. It is in full employment. We have full employment here. Anyone that wants to work has a job. Statistically, now, there's going to be people listening that say, I'm looking for work and I can't find it. But statistically, the country is at full employment. Greg asked, when does the ordinary man in the street see the benefits of ministers going all over the world? Social welfare recipients got double allowance this week because our economy could afford it, because our surplus generated mainly by foreign investment. The marketing of Ireland abroad played a part in this. Okay, well, you see, at least then maybe you've articulated a potential benefit of these trips. So that's important, that's good. When we have the Prime Minister of the North and South meeting together, both members of the same united non-sectarian Republican Party, both representing the majority of voters on both sides of the artificial sectarian constructed border, then of course we'll be steering nearer to united Ireland. Is it like a trinity, a synergy, where two parts together as a whole united together are more powerful than both parts together, or apart perhaps? It will take a time for unionists to accept, but as we can see, they are not supporting the tens of thousands protesting it, nor the loyalists, covertly British supported, death squads killing Catholics. Ireland North and South have moved on thanks to the peace process. Our children are leaving the country because they want to not. Our kids are leaving the country because they want to, not because they have to. It's for the lifestyle, the weather, the adventure, etc. There's always a movement of people for the reasons that you've outlined, but that's not, the majority aren't leaving for those reasons, it would seem, because they say otherwise. Morning. It's a disgrace that these ministers, and I say that lightly, are running to these countries for Paddy's Day. Do me a favour, it's nothing to do with anything for our people. It's a jaunt for them, pure and simple. Ask them to do it on their own time and money and see the answer that you get. Morning. Those bottle banks are a waste of space and money. Very few people we know will use them. Put them in school playgrounds for children, not taking up space in our overrun shopping car parks. Greg, it's a sad situation when your panel have no topic unless to legalise drugs. Have they forgotten about the thousands of children and innocent people being killed and starved by Israel and their supporters? And the best highlighted can do is to highlight a campaign for it to make it easier to get drugs, drive cars and kill more people. In fairness, the topics, we go to them one after the other. I think that text came in before we moved on to the St. Patrick's Day parade and the Israeli not St. Patrick's Day trips in the Israeli context. So, but it's not up to the panel to dictate the order. That's just the way I went through them. Hi, Greg. See 4 more ramps popped up yesterday. On back roads into Letterkenny's because Donegal County Council don't have the brains to see that traffic has to take these roads to try to get to their work on time. Great news for the tidy towns, Greg. Bring back your bottles and cans, says a listener there. Just 3 more before we take a break. Mary Lou is talking of United Ireland. This will take at least 10 years. It will take many years to get Northern Ireland's priorities in order. The government will never work together. We don't need a United Ireland. We don't need Ulster. Well, we're in Ulster here. Presumably in the 6 counties. The small shops can participate in the recycling scheme very easily. You get the return bags, you keep them and fill them up. The recycling companies then come to pick them up. Well, it's not that easy because we spoke to 2 smaller shop owners yesterday, and that is then you have to talk about storage and all that kind of stuff. Retailers aren't able to buy cans or bottles in Northern Ireland. They need to be stamped to be eligible for the scheme, indeed. But listen, you see around the place shops that split up multi-packs and sell them. You're not supposed to do that either. Just a bit of news that we're expecting a little later on this morning. I have been told that Pope Francis is going to announce that the bishop for this part of the world, Bishop Alan McGuckian, is moving on and is going to be appointed as Bishop of Down and Connor. I've been able to get no more further information on that. In terms of who might replace him, but I think that will be a bit of a shock to a lot of people out there. But as I say, if we can get any further confirmation as to who might replace him and an official line on that, we will later on in the morning. But it's kind of significant news, I think. Right, last one just before the break. Several times a week, by day and night, rally cars are blocking the R254 road near the bridle path in Glenveigh National Park to race their cars up and down the hill. It's a disgrace. No wonder there's a problem with speeding cars in Donegal. This is a special area of conservation. The guards cannot be everywhere. What are the park rangers and local councillors doing to stop this? Now, I hadn't heard of this before. But cars blocking the R254 and rallying up the bridle path in Glenveigh National Park. Any more information on that? To 086 60 25,000.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Friday the 2nd of February. You're playing on the yellow sheet. The reference number is S5. It's game number 5. The numbers are 16, 64, 6, 81, 25, 10, 69, 68, 39, and finally 2. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
On Business Matters this Sunday after the 6 o'clock news, my guest is Adam Graham of Recharge Recovery Room at the Ora Leisure Centre in Letterkenny.
Business Matters in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. For a career in financial governance, consider the Level 9 MA in Governance and IT in Financial Services. Call 9186206 or email donald.hannigan@atu.ie today.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford. We take 18 hours to craft our new 18-hour fermented sourdough bread. Now's the perfect time to enjoy a slice.
Okay, we are going to get your questions to Seamus Gunn of McLaughlin Gunn and Co. Remelton and Letterkenny now. Good morning to you, Seamus. You're muted, my friend, so if you don't mind.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
Good stuff. I'm doing good, Seamus. We've been really busy this morning, but I just want to talk to you about something really that a lot of people are talking about, and it's like any new legislation, and we're seeing it in the north, for an example, with the with changes being made to the Windsor Agreement and that and what have you. But it's when laws are being introduced and how they might be interpreted or not, or what they might mean or not. And I think the one that's vexing a lot of people, and there's a lot of conversation out there, is the new hate crime bill. Minister McAtee intends progressing the Criminal Justice Incitement to Violence or Hatred and Hate Offences Bill early in the new year this year. The first two bills have now passed all stages in the Oireachtas, and the Policing, Security and Community Safety Bill will be at committee stage in the Shannon this week and is expected to pass all stages by the Christmas recess. Now, that's an old piece of data that I'm reading to you there. But what is your reading of this legislation?
Yeah, well, it's not entirely new, Greg. We've had it on the statute book since, I think, 1989, when there was the Incitement to Hatred Act that was introduced then. And it is now, well, during the intervening period, it became fairly obvious, and it has been stated, I think, by some of the politicians, that it's not really fit for purpose in the current, digital media world that we live in. So obviously, with the developments in that, there's this new bill, the 2022 bill, which is moving its way quite quickly through the House of the Oireachtas, to such an extent that it's now actually in the Senate, and it's in the final stages, I think, the committee stage. So, and then I suppose there was more attention brought to it in the light of the riots in the end of November in Dublin. And only yesterday I see that there's 2 people actually charged for the first time in relation to those. So there was a big intensity and energy put into actually trying to put this on the statute books before Christmas. And I think, thankfully, that has been stalled a little bit. I think knee-jerk legislation always gives rise to trouble down the line and challenges us. And obviously, the Council of Civil Liberties, have a big say in this as well, as to how this is going to affect free speech, in general, and for the public, which is everybody's entitlement. Mm-hmm. And so that has exercised, as you've mentioned, lots of people's minds, because with the introduction of, there's certain pieces of this legislation that would cause disquiet. I think I'm referencing one in particular, actually, which is that in relation to Gardaí and making investigations into a potential incitement to hatred offence as to their powers. Like now, there's one section in particular which I think that the Senate are really going to have to look at. It's where a warrant can be obtained by the Gardaí to carry out a search in one's house and to seize basically any type of equipment that might be there, including phones, any computers, even hard copies of writings, books, etc., that are in your actual possession that could maybe be interpreted to give rise to an incitement to hatred.
Now that's been labelled.
That is fairly draconian, because
I want to talk to you a bit more.
Once you have it in your possession, you can actually you could be charged and fined, and that's now, I think, really has to be addressed, because they've further powers than that, in that they can actually compel you to access your computer, use your password, etc., to get into it, to carry out this type of investigation. that would bring serious disquiet. I think that the area has to be certainly addressed. As it was in 1989, nearly impossible to prove an offence, because you have to prove an intent on the part of the party broadcasting it or saying it or spreading it.
Yeah, and this is what's kind of got the international attention. Grown men wetting themselves that Elon Musk is taking an interest in this, and others as well. The so-called thought crime. So, in other words, I could have something on my phone, have never distributed it, okay, but it could be offensive to one of the characteristics: race, colour, nationality, religion, national or ethnic origin, descent, gender, including gender expression or identity, sex characteristics, sexual orientation, and disability. So the concern is that I could have something on my private phone with a stated intention never to distribute that, but could find myself foul of this hate bill. Is that in the same space as you've just been referencing there?
Absolutely. That's covered. There is a particular section on that deals with that even you do not communicate it, but that you do have it in your possession and you haven't either communicated yet, or if you know of intention of communicating it. There's a particular section of that, in fact, actually covers that, and that runs on into the problem I would have in relation to the particular powers that are being given to the Gardaí to investigate it. And then, of course, it will certainly be up to the DPP to decide. But as it was impossible. If somebody said, well, I didn't mean to spread any hatred, or I didn't mean to incite violence, that worked as a defence in the past. Now it's this aspect of having it or possession. For example, if you get a text or a WhatsApp or whatever, or X from some of these social media sites, and there is some content on it, and there's an awful lot of that out there at the moment, as we all know, and it arrives on your phone or whatever. Well, as it is phrased at the moment, that could give rise to you being involved in a prosecution for having that there, because it could be interpreted as incitement to hatred.
And I would have to prove.
This has to be teased out.
But
this is important. The test seems to be now. It seems, because it hasn't. It's not. This is not an act that has been implemented yet. There will be a lot more debate. But the test now seems to be recklessness. If you're reckless, so if you receive this content, you should. If you look at it, you should probably delete it. That's the maybe the thinking behind it. Is that going too far with regard to free speech? They're saying that the characteristics that you have referenced there, they're not stating that if you have a view on them that you can't express it. Now that has also been stated in a particular section of the Act. You still have the right of freedom of expression, and you have the right to have an offensive view of something like that. You have the right to debate it, but you don't have the right to incite hatred against somebody who holds those characteristics. And that okay. Well, let's just say it's a thin enough division.
It is,
when you come down to
so let's just say it was based on race, okay. And currently, at the moment, people would refer to people of colour oftenly coming here that it's a plantation that import, and I don't wish to offend anyone, okay, but sometimes you have to use the common used phraseology to get to the crux of the question. Import the third world, become the third world. You'll see that all over social media in Britain and Ireland. Now, that is inciting hatred, because you could argue, because you're effectively stating that a group of individuals from a part of the world that are most likely of a different race are coming in here and making this a third. Is that incitement to hatred? Because you could say that, I'll go, well, I'm getting angry about that because they could come in and women aren't safe and children aren't safe. Will this law be used to discourage or eliminate that type of commentary?
Well, if it did, is it going too far? It's going to come down to the testing of what I mentions there as to how reckless this is. If they're expressing a view in relation to the characteristic you're saying nationality there, and they have a view on it, well, in that case, in the essence of free speech, they should be and are allowed to state that as a view. But if that view is such that it's saying, we have to stand up and do X, Y, and Z as a result of this, well, then I think that thin line, you may be just crossing it at that point. Now, I'm not Solomon, and I can't set
No, I
judgment
understand
of it,
that.
but that is where it's going to have to be teased out. And that's where it becomes quite practical, because to get to that stage and to bring that through the courts, at some point, a DPP is going to have to take a view as to whether it goes across that line and therefore should be prosecuted, or does it not. So it's going to be a balancing act. But as it is at the moment, any of these crimes, or if they would come before the court until the new law is implemented, are going to be under the 1989 Act. And under the 1989 legislation, if you said, well, I didn't even know I had that content, I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it to be in any way offensive, and had no intention of it being so, that acts as a defence as it stands at the moment.
Okay.
Now, that is far too loose.
But just a question.
In the current digital media world.
Just a question, Seamus. At the moment, there's a number of people before the courts. One is charged with the following offence. It is alleged that on a given date, at a place unknown within the state, you distributed, showed, or played a recording of visual images or sounds to stir up hatred. Right, so, and I know the videos in question because I've seen these videos, right? And that was effectively along the lines of what I was saying a little earlier on, but perhaps in somewhat stronger language. So if people are already before the courts for inciting, violence or hatred, so what is this new law's purpose then? Because we've focused an awful lot on that already in this conversation, but there's people already before the courts, and we do have laws that already seem to cover that.
They do cover it, but I think, though, if we go back just to what I'm saying in relation to, regardless of what the cases are before the courts, what lines of defence are open to them at present under the act that you are now referencing, because that would be the relevant act for which they're being prosecuted. Under that legislation, you basically have to prove intent to incite hatred. Now, they say, look, I don't believe that I never had any such intention. That was a view that I have myself. I'm not trying to stir up anything. Well, in that situation, that could be seen to be saying, well, if they don't have intent, then the charge could fail. I'm, as I say, I'm not in a position to adjudicate upon that, but that is open to them in relation to broadcasting, in relation to stating it or passing it on social media. Now, what they're saying is, under the new legislation proposed, is that if that is reckless to such an extent that it could be interpreted, well, look, and if you read it, that's what it's saying. It's basically stirring up people to do something, calling them to arms, if you want to put it just in plain language. Well, if it goes that far, well, then on the face of it, there's not the same standard of proof to show intent. It's said it could be interpreted as that, and therefore that is the offence, and that's what they are legislating for. So they're broadening it, and I do agree that it's not fit for purpose. And I don't actually believe with this content anyway going around in social media in any event. It's not good for society in general, and it's marginalising people, and that's not a way of dealing with the issues
of course not,
referencing.
Seamus, but there are major conversations going on at the moment in relation to transgenderism, for an example, in terms of immigration. Just two issues, right, where people can have really, really strong feelings, not necessarily with hate, but, there's a lot of stuff is flung in all directions in that. The concern is that who draws the line that you've crossed here? There is a distrust that the state or the courts will get that line right, that people will feel that they can't express views that aren't based in hatred, but just an absolute disagreement with the direction of traffic. Do you think, as is, this will lead to people feeling that they can't openly debate things for fear of actually committing a criminal offence?
I would hope that it would make them maybe stop and think of what the consequences could be of the type of language that's being referenced, and that there may be at least a little bit more guarded in that, and consider, well, how could this offend people? Could this be considered as an incitement to hatred? I'm not for 1 minute saying that you can't have an offensive view or make people feel uncomfortable. That's That's your constitutional right, as it were, your freedom to speech, and that is protected, and it is actually protected specifically in the current proposed legislation. So you could have a very offensive view about any of those issues that you're saying. You can be able to say that that's my view on it, and so be it. But if that goes as far as saying, well, within any logical interpretation of that could be seen to be inciting other people to hold that view, that would incite hatred against a particular sector. Well, in that situation, I think that gives rise to potential of a prosecution. But now on that as well, if this is going to be brought in, it's going to have to be only just one leg of a much more holistic approach to the whole situation that we're dealing with, they have to. I think the powers that be have to have a form of legislation in place. Can they implement it? Can they enforce it? Is the actual manpower there? All of those are practical points. That
but you take
seriously looked at to bring prosecutions and bring them before.
Yeah, but the way that works, Seamus, is say, for instance, in relation to the this is a random analogy, but say in relation to the riding a quad bike without a helmet. Right, you don't have to do everyone that's riding a quad bike without a helmet, but you go into an area and you do one person, and then you go into another area and you do another person. And in relation to this, what you might do is those that oppose immigration or transgenderism or whatever it is, you take cases against the people that are seen as figureheads of a particular movement or what have you, and that's how you cover it in terms of resources and what have you. Like, are you fully confident that this hate bill can't be interpreted or exploited really so a government, whichever government that might be, can actually really police what people can and can't say? Because the language being used by government now, for an example, and ministers, is very similar to language that was being used by a year or 2 years ago by people ringing shows like this, and they were being deemed racist and anti-immigrant, for an example. Like, I think the public might have a concern that this won't do exactly what it says in the tin, that it will be used as a means to control the narrative, in inverted commas.
Well, dealing with your quad point just in passing.
Okay, that was about 10 minutes ago. But go on.
The helmet and not using it on the quad bike. Well, the power that is responsible for the enforcement of that is the Health and Safety Authority.
I know, but they only have to go in and do one person in an area.
That I thought nearly impossible to police. So, but in relation to the more serious issue, will it not do what it says on the tin? I think that it has to be there and should be there as a deterrent. I think it's going to have to be seriously looked at in relation to some of the sections that I have highlighted. In particular, the powers to go into one home, seize one's computers, etc., phones, and that on the basis of a warrant, on the basis of a suspicion. And then if you have content on those, you could be in difficulty. I think that's problematic, but what this does is it highlights the situation. It should make people think twice. I don't believe that there is, I just don't believe, and it's just only my own view, that there is a place for the type of social media stuff that's going around at present in relation to any issues that are held so-called dearly to people's hearts. If there is protest about, and people aren't happy with government or aren't happy with a particular direction, whether dealing with migration or otherwise, the place to be protesting is really outside Dáil Éireann and a proper legal lawful protest. If you look at what happened back in November, the end of November, the riot, that's where we're looking at in relation to this type of legislation, that somebody has to say, stop, this social media is going too far. It's going too far to the right, and it's potentially inciting hatred and marginalising smaller groups in society. And I don't think there's any place for that. I think a deterrent has to be put.
I get you. And I suppose what's offensive and not is quite subjective. And some might say, well, who's policing the far left? There was a case in Britain, and we'll go to a break and then get to questions. There was a case in Britain not settled this week, but concluded this week, where one person was called a racist, and they retorted by calling another person a paedophile. And they were found that them using the word paedophile, it did libel the other parties, but the judge didn't make a determination on whether or not the person was damaged by being called a racist. You know, when people will look at that and go, right, well, you're sort of siding with the left over the right there, and you know that could be problematic.
Well, I think that is very problematic, because I think that you have to apply the law fairly and equally and impartially, which is very important. So I think that there's a big question mark on that one.
All right, let's take a break. Back with more from Seamus in a couple of moments.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford. Our new Baker 51 authentic sourdough celebrates 72 years of baking. Now's the perfect time to try it for yourself.
Attention school leavers. Join us for Southwest College's full-time and apprenticeship open days. Visit our campuses in Dungannon on the 23rd of January, Enniskillen on the 30th of January, and Uma on the 6th of February from 3 to 7 p.m. Participate in workshops and demonstrations and meet your future tutors. Whether you're passionate about business, engineering, healthcare or the arts, we have something for everyone. Study near, go far at Southwest College. Visit swc.ac.uk for details.
Welcome to Boots. How can we help? Is it normal that it stings when I want to support my immune system?
With a fungal nail infection? And why can't I maintain my
earwax build-up and my
retreating hairline? Maybe my blood pressure's
light, regular or super plus?
Whatever your question, ask a pharmacist first and get advice without needing an appointment. Boots, with you for life. See boots.ie for details.
Are you planning a home renovation project and don't know where to start? Foy & Company are here to help with free in-store interior design and paint colour consultants all this month. Our interior designers will turn your dreams into a reality. We're the largest stockists of interior and exterior paint in the Northwest, and we have free delivery on furniture purchased this month to Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. Foy & Company in Ballybuffet, Letterkenny and online at foys.ie.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Country Sundays are back at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny this weekend, featuring Kieran Rosny and his band. Tickets €15. Doors open 8:15, dancing 9 till 11. On Sunday, the 18th of February, it's David James and his band. That's Country Sundays at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny, with Kieran Rosny this Sunday night.
Okay, we're in the company of Seamus Gunn from McLaughlin Gunn & Co. Remote and Letterkenny. And Seamus, I think it's fascinating and I really appreciate debating these things, isn't it? Because, I mean, obviously you're coming from a position of authority with your background and your experience, and you're well versed in arguing the fours and the twos and throws of laws and what have you. But sometimes I think it's a little bit absent in that people will see a law passed, and in relation to this, I think it was passed in the Dáil by something like 111 votes to 14 votes or what have you. And often we, the public, kind of don't feel we have any influence or say over it, and it's kind of been done. Like, I think there's a lot of space, I think, for debates on big issues like this, and I think they're very welcome. Seamus, what do you think?
Yeah, I think good debate and variety. And I think it's very important that communication is right, and that it will bring people on board and listen maybe objectively to what the arguments are. I think that when you reference it going through the Dáil, we do live in a democracy, but it's a question: do we use our democracy? Do we use it properly? If, as you've stated there, like That's not, well, at this point, I'm saying that there's now an energy behind the debate in the Senate, which is interesting, which didn't happen in the Dáil at all. But if we were using our democracy properly, we would be knocking on the door of our TD saying, oh, wait a minute, what about this new piece of legislation? I'm not happy with X, Y, and Z, and get the debate going that way, rather than it actually being hijacked potentially by a particular sector who has an agenda. And then you get a different type of debate coming on the airways, which may or may not be balanced. So objectivity is very important, and communication and proper open debate where people can voice their reservations. And if they're offensive, where they can voice them, even if they are offensive. That's what a free society is. That's what civil liberties are. And that's what free speech is. But if we used our democracy properly, we would be knocking on the door, and it wouldn't be the Senate that would be left now juggling this around. If they had got it moving after November, it probably would be on the statute books by now. So it was very nearly there, and there's a lot of tweaking to be done to it, I'd say.
All right, brilliant stuff. Thanks, Seamus, as always. A couple who separated for 2 years. The husband's still paying the mortgage, but he's not actually living in the house. They've got 2 children together. Should he be paying the full mortgage?
Well, look, we can't really adjudicate for these type of issues that arise. But what I would say is that the party who has the value of the property and who is enjoying the comforts of it certainly has a responsibility in relation to discharging the mortgage on it. There can always be other circumstances that you have to take into consideration, which are quite relevant, and particularly here the referencing of the 2 children and what their needs are and what the requirements are, and in practical terms, what the budget is between the people. If matters break down and they head along to the family law courts, which it could happen, then orders would be put in place as to the situation with a view to going forward, and the responsibilities that each party would have with regard to a mortgage. From the financial institution's point of view, they probably don't mind one way or the other once it's paid. Yeah,
this is a question that comes in regularly. I'm not sure it's from the same person or it's a particular problem, but we'll just get it answered now, I suppose. Could you find out why it's taking so long for a court case? I'm waiting since 2018, taking a garage to court over a car I bought from them. My solicitor says they're just waiting on a court date. Why might it be taking so long? Thanks in advance.
Yeah, well, look, they should really be asking their legal representatives that. We have come through a period of 3 years, really, where there has been a serious backlogs in the court systems in relation to civil matters, which this is. And we are all well versed up in this part of the world as to the waiting lists in relation to actions that are pending before various different courts, in particular maybe the ones even locally. So that there's nearly 3 years that you have to that is kind of in some way parked in relation to that. This is a civil claim. It could have now a list number. The parties could check it out with the appropriate court services, whichever court it is in, to see where it is on that particular list. For example, there's special sittings of civil cases coming up in this jurisdiction in the coming months, and there is 2 or 3 times a year that. So they're working through basically a backlog. If there's any particular pertinent points, they should address them to their legal representatives. If it's set down for trial and awaiting a date, I'm afraid that is just the consequences of we've lost out in 3 years. That'd be my view on it. Yeah. Of course, they can go in and seek priority if necessary, and that's again up to their legal advisors. I
suspect maybe their legal advisors are giving them the same answer as you are, and it's not satisfactory to them because they want to see it moved on. But it is what it is.
We have to try to be just objective and explain the current scenario that we're living in.
These questions, I don't know how easy they are to answer or not, but maybe they just want a ballpark. How much would it cost to transfer a house from a parent to a son? Is there a rough estimate? Would it cost an awful lot? Just a simple transfer, they say? No, as I say, every case is different.
Look, I never hedge questions if I can help it at all. Yeah. But questions that are relevant to costs are a matter between the 2 parties involved. If you're retained as a lawyer, if you're consulted as a medic, or you consult, or I need your mechanic or engineer or plumber or whatever, electrician, it's up to the individual to agree costs with the party providing the service. Solicitors are highly regulated with regard to legal services, and there's an obligation when to issue what's called Section 150 letters whenever they're taking on a case, to let people know the parameters of how the costs are involved. In relation to this particular individual, the question there is it's reference to a transfer to a member of the family. The big issue that could arise here, and the main outlay, which I would suggest, is that of stamp duty. Nothing to do with the solicitors at all. It's the government that get it. And you can knock on their door on that. But in relation to the stamp duty, a house, it comes down to the value of it. And there would be then a 1%, there could be a 1% stamp duty applying on that. Of course, there could be consanguinity relief, but that's going to be a big item of outlay. If they want an idea of what their professional fees are, they should have a consultation with them and have it agreed in advance and move forward from there.
And I think
that's the reasonable approach. And you should, everybody's entitled to be paid a reasonable fee for their services.
Yeah, but I think too we kind of have to be realistic as well in that it's just a simple transfer. But it's what might seem simple to us, or what we believe to is it starts getting, it's not simple because there's an awful lot of hoops.
Potentially, first of all, the biggest deal in which the individual, the normal person, such maybe as myself, will be involved in their lifetime with regard to valuation. If it's a dwelling of maybe a value 100 or 200,000, it's not every day you're dealing with that type of value and the value of what it means to the person who's getting it. You could have issues arising, you could have mapping issues arising, for example, to be sure that's the right title and that it corresponds with everything on the ground, might need a survey. There could be easements, there could be access issues, there could be rights of way, there could be services. So there's the
roof could be 600 mil higher than the plans.
We can expand it out. So if you're going to say, how much will that just cost? It's not just a simple, it's just a simple transfer. There is a little bit more involved, and that's why you're best leaving it to those who are trained to do it and who charge a very reasonable fee for it.
Okay, but and you know that fee in advance and you can have that consultation. My daughter was awarded €7,000, presumably through the court, Seamus. I'm not sure if there's enough information for you to answer. But my daughter was awarded €7,000, is never paid. She was never paid this, and the person who the charge was levelled against has left the country. Have they anywhere to go from here?
Yeah. Well, it's extremely frustrating. If they've been awarded that, it does sound like a matter that has gone before the courts and there has been a decree to that effect, which is payable. That, unfortunately, and I'm speaking in many ways from dealing with situations over many years, is really only as good as the party against whom you have it. Because if it's not a situation where there's an insurance company indemnifying that party, you then have to go and pursue it and potentially through the courts again by way of what's called enforcement proceedings. There's the added complication here where they've said that this individual is abroad, may never be coming back, and then you might have to try to enforce a judgment abroad, which again will add further to costs. And keep this in mind as you're going along, that the decree or the award is 7,000. You could very easily spend significant sums of money in the pursuit of that. And at some stage, you're probably going to have to come to a decision. Is it good money after bad? If there's not an indemnifier there, if there's a situation where there's a property maybe owned by that individual here, even though that person is abroad, they could take up, they could issue proceedings for what's called well-charging proceedings and register it against the property as a mortgage and then push for a sale of the property. So that's further down the line, again incurring very significant costs. So first of all, you have to assess where you're at. What's the likelihood of achieving it? What's the likelihood of getting a result whereby the individual gets their money? And when you move forward from there, if you're comfortable with it, go ahead. If you're not, it just could add further to your frustration.
Yeah, indeed. And that means having to swallow some frustration one way or other. Okay. Seamus Gunn of McLaughlin Gunn & Co. They have physical offices in Ramelton and Letterkenny. You can contact them for personal consultations, of course. And Seamus, always, as always, 24/7, 365, right across the world, online.
Online, yes, and across the world, becoming ever more appealing, Greg. Gun.ie or Donegalsolicitors.ie.
I'd say you get a few Americans stumble onto the website.
Very, very keen Americans, yeah. We'd love to see them.
Looking for a Cult 64. Anyway.
Yes. Thankfully, there's a time difference.
Okay, take care of yourself. Thanks very much indeed. Gun.ie, Gunn.ie. Gunn.ie, should I say. All right, okay. Just before we take a break, just some news coming to me. I mentioned it a couple of times earlier on, and I can bring it to you now because I've got the information. His Holiness Pope Francis has appointed Bishop Alan McGuckian, Bishop of the Diocese of Raphoe, as the new Bishop of the Diocese of Down and Connor. The news of the episcopal appointment has been made public. And that's it, really. There's just a bit of background to Bishop McGuckian, and no word of who might replace him yet. We just don't have that information. But a great deal of information about in this press release that I've been handed about Bishop Alan McGuckian, who is going to be the new Bishop of Down and Connor, Catholic Communications Office Archive. Okay. Obviously, we hope we're off Monday, and it's the information is just breaking now. So we're hoping to speak to the bishop on Tuesday. So that should be an interesting conversation. He's always been very good in terms of making himself available to us, and fingers crossed he'll be able to do so on Tuesday as well, following his new appointment and his departure from this area. It's a big old heave, I would say, for these people. You know, you come into an area and you make connections with the priests, with the congregation, you know, with the media as well, I'm sure. And then you get told, rightio, we need you somewhere else, and on you go. Okay, it must be really, really tough.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford, introducing our new Baker 51 authentic sourdough bread, a delicious new addition to the team.
Traditional Irish folk and ballad band the Kilkennys come to Jackson's Hotel Ball Buffet on Friday 16th of February and Kirchkey Door on Saturday 17th of February. Tickets are €20 each and available from Eventbrite and from hotel reception.
Go full Lidl and go full Irish breakfast this bank holiday weekend. Fry up our deluxe breakfast bundle with Board B approved deluxe back bacon, Board B approved deluxe hand-tied pork sausages, and either our deluxe white or black Irish pudding. All this for under €5. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl today.
The world is getting a little more. But maybe more could mean something else. More means more proactive green energy solutions. More means more wind turbines and more recycling. More means more biodiversity and more energy storage. More means more hydrogen and more solar farms, because more clean energy means more efficient living, means more thriving communities, means more energy autonomy. That's why we're more than Mona. Learn more at morethanmona.ie. Board na Mona.
It's time to transform your smile with the help of Blue Poppy Dental, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Their expert team offer orthodontics, teeth whitening, implants and composite bonding all in-house. Start your journey by calling 074 97 40404 or easily book your appointment online at a time that suits you through their user-friendly patient portal. Available anytime, anywhere at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Gift vouchers available.
Easy Living Furniture's biggest ever winter sale ends this Sunday. This is your final chance to avail of these amazing discounts, as this whopper winter sale must end Sunday. Absolutely everything reduced across sofa, dining, bedroom, mattress and accessories. Winter sale must end Sunday at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. Building a new home? Choose Grant's A++ rated Airona air-to-water heat pump and Uflex underfloor heating. Visit grant.ie.
Okay, today will be a relatively mild but a mostly cloudy and dull day with some scattered outbreaks of light rain and drizzle, some mist and fog, and hill fog too. Breezy with temperatures of 11 to 13 degrees. No, Greg, that's not correct. The case that you quoted, Lawrence Fox couldn't prove that he'd been defamed or lost income as a result of being called a racist. His claims that he lost parts in films were proven to be false by the writers, producers on the production he cited. So this is not who's going to police the left, because the left is always policed. Lawrence Fox is the man who used the N-word in the witness box in the court, by the way. Indeed, he He rapped or spoke some words from a Tupac Shakur track, believe it or not. So please stop this both sides stuff. Listen, we have to have conversations, and having that means that you can text in and have your point of view as well, which I think is really quite important. And keep those calls and comments coming in as well, by the way, 08660 25,000. Okay, it's been a busy week as always. We've covered all the big issues of the week and continue to do so. But it's now Friday as we head towards 11 o'clock, and we park that to one side for the time being and just talk about a lot of stuff that we talk about in our homes or in the office or the lunchroom or wherever it might be. We want to know what you're doing to entertain yourself over the bank holiday weekend. Have you anything nice planned? What are you going doing? Going visiting? Just chilling? Are you going to watch your favourite TV show? Have you got a film or a show lined up? Anything that you want to talk about to do with just chilling out, relaxing, watching TV, listening to podcasts, going to the cinema, anything. What are you doing this weekend? 08660 25,000. And we'll be joined by Michael and Katie after these.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford, introducing our new 18-hour fermented sourdough bread. A winner with the whole family.
On Business Matters this Sunday after the 6 o'clock news, my guest is Adam Graham of Recharge Recovery Room at the Ora Leisure Centre in Letterkenny.
Business Matters in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. For a career in financial governance, consider the Level 9 MA in Governance and IT in Financial Services. Call 9186206 or email donald.hannigan@atu.ie today.
Here are last week's road safety figures. Over 2,500. The number of penalty point notices issued, 128. The number of drivers arrested on suspicion of drink or drug driving, and 3. The number of people killed on our roads. Behind these numbers is a story of lost lives, broken families, and devastated communities. If you can improve just one thing about your driving, you can help save lives on our roads. From the Road Safety Authority and An Garda Síochána.
Mary here from the Cosmetic Department at McGee's Pharmacy to let you know that Clarence have a great skincare gift available this week. Buy 2 Clarence products, one to be skincare, and you'll get a choice of 4 treat-size essentials from a selection of 8. Which 4 will you choose? This great Clarence offer is available until Saturday the 10th of February or while stocks last in store and online at mcgees.ie. And remember, for any skincare advice, you can always talk to Gemma or myself here at McGee's Chemist on Main Street, Letterkenny, where the best costs less.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It's just turned 11 o'clock, time for a news update, and it's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Raphoe Bishop Alan McGuckian has been appointed as the new Bishop of the Diocese of Down and Connor by Pope Francis. The announcement is being made around now. Bishop McGuckian was appointed as Bishop of Raphoe in 2017 and has since undertaken a number of responsibilities as a member of the Irish Catholic Bishops' Conference. In a statement, Bishop McGuckian says the people of Donegal took him into their hearts and he will miss them greatly. His statement can be read in full on our website, highlandradio.com. An arrest has been made into the murder investigation of a West Donegal woman who was living in Scotland. 61-year-old Anne Call was found with serious injuries at a flat in Rutherglen on December 22nd. Following inquiries into her death, officers have arrested a 37-year-old woman. A Sinn Féin councillor says he's always believed his party would hold the seat of First Minister in the North and that a Sinn Féin Taoiseach will follow. Councillor Jack Murray was speaking on this morning's 9 till Noon show when he welcomed the imminent reformation of an assembly at Stormont. His party colleague Michelle O'Neill will make history by becoming the first Republican First Minister. The need for more apprenticeships has been greatly highlighted at 2 separate council meetings in Donegal this week. At a full meeting of the council, members agreed to write to both education and higher education ministers for more course places and supports to see more trained electricians, plumbers, plasters and block layers. The issue was also discussed at a meeting of the council's Economic Development SPC, with members stressing the need for more skilled tradespeople in the county. And finally, fishermen want their vessels to be viewed as a place of business. In a recent meeting of Donegal County Council Fisheries Committee, members said that fishermen should qualify for more business supports to maintain their work. Chairperson of the committee, Councillor Niamh Kennedy, says what happens behind the scenes, usually at home in terms of bookkeeping, proves that fishermen are running legitimate businesses. That's all for now. Back again at 12 o'clock.
Thank you very much, Donna Marie.
Whoa! Prices keep dropping in store at Aldi, with loads of your favourites getting the price drop treatment. Like high protein mousse 200 grams was $1.75, now $1.49. Melt in the middle fish cakes 2-pack was $3.49, now $2.99. And Irish lean beef burgers 2-pack was $2.89, now $2.49. Ooh, lean burger, lean price. Follow the path to lower prices. Go all Aldi. Prices checked 8th of the 1st, 24. Details aldi.ie/save.
Okay, you're very welcome along to That's Entertainment here on the 9 till noon show. It is Friday. That means we get to welcome into studio a gentleman, Michael Leddy, who... What are you laughing at? A gentleman, Michael Leddy, who, believe it or not, in 2012, and I think that was around the time of the... Not 2022 it was, actually represented Letterkenny at the Cooper Hill cheese rolling competition, which I think is amazing. Now, this competition is unbelievable. So from the top of a hill, a 7 or 9 pound round double Gloucester cheese is sent rolling down the hill, which is 200 yards long. He came second. Congratulations. And also with us is...
No way.
Yeah, he did.
That's true, yeah.
And also with us, Katie McGee, who, believe it or not, is, and you might not even realise this exists, an extreme ironer. It is, and she caused controversy. She might have saw it in the Democrat, in that she had to be rescued because she took her iron and ironing board to the top of Ergal during Storm Isha.
But this is
and then all the rescue teams, nothing to do with gender. Extreme ironers are both male and female, and thems and theys.
Yeah.
So don't you worry about it, okay?
Yeah. No, I'm not.
But anyway.
I've never rolled cheese, though.
You know, but that's his thing.
The weather, I'd show you after the show, but the weather's not suitable.
Yeah, okay. Now, listen, guys, how are you all getting on? How are you, Katie?
Oh, good. Oh, good. Yeah, excited to be back for another little jaunt.
A little jaunt. And Michael, how was your week?
My week has been building to that introduction.
Yes, of course. Well,
building. I feel like Monday, Tuesday, I was like, I wonder what Greg's going to say this week.
Did you do anything interesting?
I didn't really. I was watching a bit of TV, doing a bit of work, and that's my life.
Yeah, what about, work and TV and of course sleeping.
And sleeping, yes.
Katie, did you do anything interesting? How have you been this week? Are you all right?
Yeah.
Did you have any fun?
I found this week very long. Did anyone else find this week very long?
No.
I don't know why. I just did. I felt like it was Friday, like on Tuesday. Do you know, one of them ones where just every day kind of felt long.
And was it Ted? And was it Ted?
No.
Maybe it's because you we kind of be looking forward to the longer weekend. Maybe
probably,
and you sort of the week feel like if you take a Monday off and you think 4-day week, and then it feels like a 7-day week.
I know,
a working week, you know, psychologically.
Like January, it has 85 days in it.
Yeah, that's what a few people have said that to me.
That being said, again, January flew for me.
Did do something exciting. I won't name the show, but there's an upcoming show, and I'm helping out on the tech side of it, and the tech side of a production in the Green. The technical stuff is going to be something that's never been done before, and I had a meeting on, was it Tuesday night? I don't even know what night it was, but it was very exciting to finally see what I'm going to be doing behind the scenes.
A tech thing that's never been done before. That's never been done before.
I think it's never been done before, yeah.
Well, I'm very fascinated by that. Holograms, they've been done before.
In about a few weeks away. I won't mention anything yet. But
you can't.
I won't. It's not my place to say it, yeah.
But still, find it somewhat hard to believe. Not going to lie to you.
And how was your week, Greg?
My week was fine. Uneventful, really. Didn't really do anything. I tell you what I did, actually. And it's cost me €250, and I'm really very unhappy about it. I let my accidentally home insurance lapse.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Right. So I rang the company back, and I said to them, look, apologies. I tried to do the all innocent thing. And because it was over 30 days, they wouldn't even quote me.
No.
They wouldn't quote me. Their renewal was like $3.90, and the cheapest I could get was $6.10, and I am gutted. I am absolutely devastated because I'm so tight, and it's just €300.
But everyone has to watch money. Yeah, everyone. It's the life we lead.
And the mortgage came out this week. That came out. Credit union loan came out, and I'm running low on oil.
Gosh, you're good for nothing this
so,
week. Anyway.
If we could get that GoFundMe page up and running, I would really appreciate that. Save a soul. Trigger Point last Sunday was excellent. I don't have Sky on Netflix, and it's good to see a good programme on terrestrial TV. Yes, indeed. Yes. It's a lot of stay still, don't move. I haven't seen it. I watched a couple of episodes, but it's a lot of don't move, stay still. Going to see Dick Whittington at St. Eugene's Hall Mayville on Sunday.
Oh, no, you're not. Oh, no, you're not.
Went the other night. I'll do the jokes. Went the other night and could not stop laughing. Great crack. Brilliant stuff. And a little plug in there as well, which I like. There's a plug in there in case. Is the ticket still available? Watching rugby tonight. Come on, Ireland! Tonight against France. That's the Six Nations, which will be interesting over the weekend. Right, okay. Let's start with you, Michael.
Yes.
BritBox on Sky. What in God's name is BritBox Sky?
No, you're Vigil. Vigil's the name of the show. It's on BritBox is one of those platforms. Some people may have it. It's just another streamer.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have to pay for it?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
If you're inside the Republic of Ireland, you won't have access unless you use a VPN.
Yes.
So friends of mine. But if you're in the north, you can get it.
That's fine, yeah.
And it's got a great library. Friends of mine.
Is it?
Well, it has. If
Morse,
yes.
Silent Witness.
Only Fools.
You know.
Yeah,
is
it's got the BBC ITV. I don't have it, but I'm aware of people who do have it. I don't have access to the programs that are on it. This is a new program though, Vigil. So is Vigil not? Vigil.
Sorry, I have a slight chest infection.
I hope that gets fixed, but it always occurs on a Friday morning between 11 and 12. Vigil was on the BBC before Christmas.
Yeah.
And Vigil is back for its second season. This was one of the highlights of TV for me 2 years ago, 2022. In fact, I thought the first season was absolutely fantastic. It was set on a submarine. It was about a murder on a submarine.
I remember you mentioning this.
Saran Jones is the lead actress in this, playing Detective Amy Silva. And she had to go onto the submarine to investigate a murder. And it was brilliant because, she was going up against people that were sort of like, well, they didn't really have to answer her questions, but they were sort of, and they could tell her to F.O. if they wanted. They were like, look, we're indulging you, whatever. But she was like, it's a murder on Scottish soil, technically,
That's
she doesn't
Scottish
talk.
accent.
That's the best I can do. It was one of those shows where I was very surprised it got a second season. Like The Flight Attendant, the Flight Attendant came back for a second season, which wasn't as good. And I love Kaylee Cuoco, and I thoroughly enjoyed the first season of the Flight Attendant. Season 2 not so much, and now we find out in the last week that it's not getting a third season, to nobody's great surprise. Vigil returned for a second season, and I was surprised they could find another way to make that story. But anyway, it's a new case. It's no longer a submarine, and what this time happens is there is an incident in Scotland with drones. There's a military exercise, and 7 people die. One of the drones is hijacked, basically. There's 4 drones and one of them is hijacked. And 2 of the drones were controlled in Scotland, but 2 were controlled in a made-up country in the Persian Gulf. And because the murder happened on Scottish soil, how's that? That's pretty good? Pretty good? No, he's shaking. It's terrible. Because the murder happened on Scottish soil, Amy Silva, who has experience working with the military, as in the Navy, she has to investigate the murders and who did it. So what the show does in season 2, for the 6 episodes that aired before Christmas, it tries to recreate that idea. Instead of being in a submarine, she's on an Air Force base in the Persian Gulf.
Does it work?
It's not as strong as season 1. Because you can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to put this situation, they're really trying to recreate a lot of the stuff. But I felt the 6 episodes sagged a lot in the middle, But I have to say, by the time I got to episode 5 and 6, it really came into its own.
But that's not acceptable in this day and age. You stuck with it, many wouldn't, and there's other programs you do. I just feel a little bit like, maybe they should plan that they're going to go to a season 2. Give us the answers, but set it up, because I know they can't tell what's a hit or not, but it can't be too difficult to hedge your bets.
After The Flood, which is the ITV show is running at the moment, now that's very much a self-contained story. It's very good. It's getting good reviews, and I have a weird feeling they'll figure out some way to bring PC Joanna back.
She's dead, is she?
No, I mean back for another murder mystery. She's the investigator on the show. So Vigil came back. I don't think season 2 is as strong as season 1, but it's still a good thriller. It's just you kind of know they're really trying hard to be like, oh God, she can't be in a submarine again. What can we do that's sort of like a submarine?
I know, yeah.
So they put her in the Middle East, and it works. It works to a certain degree. I put it this way: I would have given season 1 a 9.5 or a 10. I thought it was a great thriller. I'd give this probably about an 8. So it's still good TV. Good
I
TV.
think if you hadn't seen the first, it maybe would be a 9 kind of thing. All right, okay, that's Vigil. It's on BrickBox Sky.
And it's also on. It's on different platforms.
Different platforms. Have a look around. Search it. Vigil. VIGIL.
Or people may have watched it. This was on BBC One before Christmas. So again, a lot of people may have seen it and may want to text in and say that Egypt's wrong and explain why I'm wrong.
Yeah. Well, that's okay.
Can't read out all those messages,
yes,
Michael.
That would keep us here till 1 o'clock. John Breslin would be like, my show has to start.
Deep Water on, now what's it called? I watched it during the week. I got an hour to myself during the week and I watched it. It's on Netflix. Dangerous Water, Deep Water. It's terrible. It really is terrible.
Is that the Native American
show? No. It's
never.
about a boat and stuff. But anyway, I'll find the name of it. Just wondering if anyone watched it. It's so brutal. The acting is just terrible.
Is that the one where they got stuck? No, that's not the one they got stuck.
No, they're all kind of this deep dive. I can't remember what it's called.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's not called Deep Water. I'll come back to that. I should have thought about that before I mentioned
Opening the can of worms.
Precisely. Because you're going to talk about Netflix now. I give it a year. Rose Byrne always enjoys stuff she's in.
Yeah, and I did speak about another Rose Byrne one there the last day. Which one I can't.
Little Girl Crush.
Do you know what? I do enjoy her, and this is another one that really works. I think it's alludes to how well the British and American comedy mixes and creates something kind of new. But it's kind of an underrated one, this one, and it's kind of why I chose it. It's really, really funny. It's a really, really good comedy. Like that, you have Rose Byrne, Steve Merchant, as everyone knows from one of the creators of The Office. And he's also in he's in a lot of Ricky Gervais's productions.
Like extras, and he had a cameo in an episode of 24.
Did he?
Yes, so did Ricky Gervais, but they cut that out because Ricky Gervais they thought was far too recognisable. But they were both in 24 because they were huge fans.
Yeah. Anne Ferris, Olivia Colman from Peep Show and The Crown, and Minnie Driver as well from Good Will Hunting.
Good cast, isn't it?
That's a fantastic
really
cast.
Good cast. Yeah. There's other recognisable actors in it, but Deep Fear. Yeah. But it's basically about this couple that get married, and it's about their first year of marriage, and it is basically how their friends are kind of sort of maybe betting against them a bit, but they only kind of get to know each other, I suppose, in that first year of marriage and what kind of really annoys one another in that. So there's a lot of really good comedy in it. And I really recommend it. Steve Merchant is a scream in it. He really, really is. Really good.
He's a very funny guy.
Yeah. It's silly. I'll not lie. It's a bit low brow at parts. So a bit of the lewd humour, as they say. Not all like that, but there's certainly elements of it in it. So if that's not your thing, or if you're not into kind of silly humour, but it's definitely one for one to chill out and watch, and kind of if you're not really interested in watching anything too serious. So I enjoyed it. Really good.
Is that old? I'm not sure. Is it a new film?
It's 2013, but I
wouldn't like to try and assemble that cast now.
Yeah. Well, like that, it wasn't a made for Netflix movie or anything like that. But it's just one that people aren't really as aware of as some of the other.
And I'm a fan of some of those people, particularly Rose Byrne, and I wasn't aware of it at all.
Yeah.
Like that's 10 years ago. So that must have been. It must have been really short release or something?
Yeah,
or something?
I don't really know why, to be honest with you, that it's not bigger than it is, because it has every reason to be as big as any of the other kind of any of those other kind of comedies, you know.
What would you give it out of 10?
I would say an 8 and a half, maybe. Yeah,
for comedy, because comedies are, you know, they're often disappointing. You know?
You kind of have to be in the humour for that kind of for
humor's subjective. Like, I mean, two people won't necessarily, like, somebody. That sounds like a film. I've took note of that because it sounds like something I'd enjoy. But somebody else might be like, "Oh, this is a bit stupid."
And it's the type of humour, and as you say, it's really subjective. Okay. We'll have more from Katie and Michael on the way. Don't forget, tell us what you're doing. 086 60 25,000. Anything exciting planned for the weekend? What do you intend to watch? What are you going to do?
Number one talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford, introducing our new 18-hour fermented white bloomer, scoring the bronze at Blas na Huron.
Despite low temperatures and high energy costs, it's important everyone stays warm and well through the colder months. It's also important to understand that saving energy where possible saves money and helps reduce the impact on our climate. Simple steps can make a big difference, like turning down the thermostat by 1 degree, limiting the use of high-energy appliances like tumble dryers, or ensuring we don't heat rooms that aren't in use. Government is playing its part too, making a range of supports available to help ease the burden on families across the country. For support and advice, visit gov.ie/reduce your use. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Colin here from Sweeney's Home Value Builders Providers, Lettermack Award and Derrybeg. Are you starting a new build or planning a renovation anytime soon? Why not give us a call today for quotation for all your building needs? Whether it's steel or insulation, timber or slates, we have it all at Sweeney's Builders Providers, Lettermack Award and Derrybeg. Call 074 95 44 114. And now with delivery all across Donegal, at Sweeney's Builders Providers, we have it all.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Donegal will look to make it back-to-back victories in Division 2 of the league this weekend. After the win over Cork, Jim McGuinness's side hit the road on Sunday to take on Cavan. Join the Highland team for full match commentary from the 4 p.m. throw-in at Kingspan Breffni Park.
Highland's coverage of Donegal in Division 2 of the National Football League is brought to you by Highland Motors in Letterkenny. For a new 241, the full range of new Renault and Dacia cars and vans are on display and ready to test drive.
All right, before we go back to Michael, well, we're not going back to him because he's here ever present. The birthday bash is upcoming. What's that? This is not too far away. This is next month. Katie, what's going on?
Yeah, so this goes on sale today. It'll go on sale on our website at 12 o'clock this afternoon, so just after the show, and tickets are available. So it is on Tuesday the 19th of March in the Mount Errigal Hotel, as always. And this year we are having Margot, and she'll be our the main entertainment for the evening. But we'll also have Brendan Quinn, Declan Nerney, Patrick Feeney, and as ever we'll be compared and joined by David James. So we'll have ticket only option, and then we also have packages on sale. So dinner, bed, and breakfast, and ticket to the
Could
show.
you sort of try and make this more featurey rather than rather than advert? Just like, you know, throw a bit of your personality in there or something.
I know. I don't know what happens to me. I switch.
I know. It's supposed to be fun.
You should be like, and we have
I know.
Margot, and I can't believe we have.
And be like, you know,
so the
Declan, he's
personality.
great. Patrick and all Dave will be there.
I did
beautiful
meet
man, Eric. It's going to be a great night. We're going to have so much fun. And you know,
it is good fun. And you know what?
But you're not selling it to me. I'm not feeling like, you know.
You don't want to come?
No, I do, but you're putting me off.
You have to, Greg. That'll ruin the night for everyone.
It's just going to be fantastic. We're celebrating our birthday. How old are we?
We are 34.
Woo! Highland Radio Center. And
yeah.
it'd be brilliant. The more people that come along and celebrate our birthday, because I'm sure it's going to be an extra special night because it's our birthday.
Hooray! And I do, because Like, in fairness, when people were coming out of the Christmas concert, they were like, oh.
This microphone and you, I'll tell you, it's going to be a series falling out.
Oh, my God.
Pick a side. Just pick a side of the mic and I'll move it to that side.
Okay. Sorry,
you were saying I'm ruining your flow, Katie. Go on ahead.
He's terrible, isn't he?
I'm
terrible. He's terrible.
People were coming out of the Christmas concert, and I think nearly every person asked when the next one is. Yeah,
that's
really,
great.
really good.
The next Christmas concert? Well, it's probably 12 months. I mean, even I know that. I wasn't there.
You're such a smarty pants.
Michael, who invited you?
Caroline, a long time ago, and boy, does she regret it.
And come
Just keeps coming back.
So you can get a ticket for the night, but if people are listening and they want to make a night out of it in Derry or Strabane or Gwyddor, and people travel up and down, there's a package as well which includes overnight accommodation.
Yep,
All right,
and dinner, bed and breakfast and all that sort of stuff.
And
too,
is it on the website portal?
It will be, yeah. From
What's it called again?
The outlet.
Yep.
How could you forget?
Because it's a terrible name. The Highland Shop. Simple.
That's really catchy, isn't it?
Come here. I'm going to walk up the boardwalk and the footpath and the sidewalk to the outlet.
Now, that's a Scottish accent.
Yeah.
Well done. Now, man, that's putting me to shame.
Yeah.
Well done.
I'm from Glasgow.
I don't think you should ever get involved. I just don't think you should ever get involved in marketing. I just don't think. I don't think Anya or Karine are going to be calling you anytime soon.
Well, don't mention names now all of a sudden, because now you've made it quite personal. So.
Anyway, the shop.
Love the name. Sure.
Sure. Anyway, look, it's on the outlet. They'll be on the outlet from 12 noon today, and we have tickets here as always, and there will be down in the Mount Dergal this afternoon as well.
Okay, brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
And it will be a fantastic night out. The legend that is, and the words chucked around a bit, Margot is an absolute legend.
Yeah.
It's going to be fantastic. Brendan Quinn, Declan Nerney, Patrick Feeney and David James will be comparing. It is Tuesday the 19th of March this year. It's in the Mount Dergal Hotel, which is always a great setting. Tickets available now, and you can sort of package it all together as well if you want to do an overnight stay. But they're more limited, obviously, than the tickets, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So get in quick.
Yeah,
and if you want to give us a buzz, 07491 25,000, and we'll give you more info on that. It's going to be a good night, I think.
Yeah.
And Highland Radio 34. How much are the tickets, Caroline wants to know?
€30 per ticket.
€30 per ticket. Okay. Yeah. Right now, Aquaman 2 in the cinema. Aquaman 2 in the cinema.
Aquaman 2
in the cinema.
And this is Aquaman 2. Yes, I went along to see this. Fanula, I was going to say dragged me along, but that's not necessarily well. Anyway, this is one of those DC superhero movies, and I have to say, in the last couple of years, I wouldn't have gone to see any of them. I had sort of I had lost interest, I suppose. But Fanula wanted to see this, and Shazam 2 and Black Adam and a couple of other guys I know wanted to see The Flash. So I ended up seeing a good chunk of this final dying ebbs of the DC movie universe. The DCEU, as it's been called, has come to an end. This is the version of DC Comics that had Henry Cavill as Superman and Ben Affleck as Batman. And this is the 15th or 14th movie in that universe, and it's the last one because it just wasn't working and there's going to be no more. This came out over Christmas, and I have to say reviews were mixed on this. 34% from professional critics, 81% from the fans, and myself and Fanuna very much in that second. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it, but I ended up really enjoying it. Mm-hmm. For all its flaws, it's a movie that borrows a lot from other movies. It borrows from the Thor movies with Thor and Loki, but it owns it because at one point Aquaman says to his brother, "Come on, Loki." It borrows from Harry Potter, but it also references Prisoner of Azkaban.
Knows what it's doing,
so it knows what it's doing, and it's a fun movie. Jason Momoa is really, really good as this character. He's larger than life. But the surprise for me was Patrick Wilson. I've never warmed to Patrick Wilson. I've seen him in The Conjuring. I've seen him in Fargo Season 2. But I've never liked him until this movie. And basically the story, picking up from the first one, is that at the end of the first movie, he had sent his brother to a undersea prison for his misdeeds. But now there's a catastrophe looming, and would you believe it? He has to get his brother out and get his brother to help him. Mm-hmm. What? So the two of them have to team up, and it's one of those reluctant partnerships where they're constantly bickering. And some critics didn't like that, but I did. I was laughing and I enjoyed seeing the brothers sort of work together and reconcile. Yes, we've seen it 100 times before, but I'd give it a good solid 7 out of 10 because I was laughing and I thought the visual effects were beautiful. It looked great.
It is, but it creates a alternative reality.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The CGI doesn't look like real people underwater.
No, it doesn't. It's a middle ground between an animated film and a live action film.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of CGI animation in this film because you're underwater a lot. It didn't bother me, but mileage may vary. Some people can look at it, as you say, and be like, well, it doesn't look,
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you like these films, you're going to like that. So you say the DCU, DCU is what?
It's finishing that.
But what is that again?
It's the connected universe of Henry Cavill as Superman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Ben Affleck as Batman. Yeah. That's all done. And they're starting fresh. A new actor has been announced, and they're filming. He's not a famous actor. I don't know his name.
No, for what?
For Superman. A new actor's been announced for Superman, and they're starting with fresh. There's James Gunn as the guy.
I think they've given up on something they've destroyed here.
Yeah, the feeling from a lot of reviewers and fans is that the take on Superman under Zack Snyder was not a great take. It was too dark. Superman, I read Superman comics. I was reading a Superman issue not last night, the night before last. Superman's not meant to be a dark, twisted, tortured character. He's a Boy Scout. That's who Superman is.
But just back in the day, right, when I was younger, you know, you watched Superman, okay, and there was 1, 2, 3, and 4 or whatever, and liked them as weird. And then you watched Batman.
Yes.
And then there was Batman
Returns and Forever.
Yeah, exactly. And then that was it. Now, instead of it has to be all intertwined and complicated, and Aquaman's there. And
yeah. Well, they're doing away with that. It'll be moving forward. It'll be a new Superman from the beginning, and they're just starting fresh.
Yeah.
Starting fresh.
Do you remember Superman in one of the early films? He reversed time by flying around the world in the opposite direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
If only with that simple.
Yes. If only it were that simple.
Okay. Right, okay, so it's in the cinemas. It'll be coming to platform soon enough, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it may be finished.
It moves really quickly.
Yeah, it's
The Good Doctor, Disney Plus, is one of those shows that it's pushed to me, do you know what I mean? And it looks, because I like that guy when he was in Bates Motel, and I feel like I probably would enjoy it, but I don't know, something stops me pulling the trigger on it. What is the basis of this programme? Like, by the way, is it a drama, a thriller, a comedy, or
It's a drama with some dry humour.
Okay.
Is probably the best way to describe it. Freddie Highmore is the actor you're referring to there, and quite rightly, he was in the Bates Motel, which was also brilliant. I loved Bates Motel. This obviously is a completely different sort of show. Again, I was a little bit hesitant at the start to pull the trigger on this one as well, purely because, again, I was like, this is just a remake of House with the different actors.
Yeah,
right?
okay, yeah.
But actually, it's the same maker, same creator, David Crane, I think.
Oh, you're close. I should know this.
Anyway, we'll skip over
that.
Yeah.
But he is skip over that bit, right? This is where my personality comes in. This is what you're looking for before you start giving out to me.
I'm not giving that. Don't try and frame me as I'm being framed as a boring old fart and now angry.
Anyway, no, he is a surgical resident in a hospital.
David Shore.
Yeah.
David Shore, thank you. I wasn't too far off.
Close.
But he is also autistic. So he obviously has to deal with his whole bedside manner and that kind of thing is a big thing for him.
Is that open or is that suppressed or?
No, it's known. Like,
okay,
it is known.
Mm-hmm.
He has there's another doctor who he's quite friendly with from childhood, who kind of mentors him through it, and their relationship's quite permanent to his whole navigation through his career. But it's really interesting. It's like that. It's endearing, because he just says things as they are to really people who are quite more senior than him, and he just doesn't care, and it's like that. There's no sort of filter in that regard, and it's also clever, like that. It has the cleverness of House, and it's funny like House, but it's different funny, and it's different. It's a different setting.
So if you like House, you won't be disappointed. If you don't like House, you might still enjoy it.
You might, yeah, I think so, because it's just a different. I don't think there's anything like it on the TV in terms of you wouldn't have somebody who has that. Or there isn't anything like that. We have somebody with a learning disability. Would that be the right phraseology of that? But it's in a role like that and seeing how it's managed.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously, they make it a little bit lighter by introducing a little bit of comedy into it as well. So yeah, no, it's definitely a worthwhile watch. Definitely a worthwhile watch. I loved it. The first season I would give maybe a 9.5. I just thought it was really, really good. Gets a little bit sort of what's the word after? I think there's maybe 5 or 6 seasons of it, and the kind of it drags on a little bit too long.
That's a lot. We're watching The Americans at the moment, and we're into season 4, and it's enjoyable, but it's a slog, like,
Yeah, it's a bit samey after a while. I find the character is kind of the same. They try and develop them and different ways and stuff, and it kind of doesn't really work.
But if it's gone for 6 seasons, it's ticking someone's boxes.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Also, a show like that, which is a weekly, like some shows, really great shows, are not meant for binging. They're just not meant.
That's very true. Yeah.
And that's a weekly show, so it's never meant. It's not meant to be consumed.
Yeah.
It's just
one.
It's there for the long haul. You're supposed to give the 6 years to
I love House passionately from beginning to end, but when I've chatted to other people who have tried binging it, they're like, oh, it's if you watch 6 episodes of House, you do realise it's the same
but
episode.
You see now,
it's the same episode.
That's where I have to disagree with you, because I would sit up all night watching House, like episodes of House. I just I could binge that, watch that all day long. I think thought it was brilliant.
But could you watch them out of order and just randomly?
Oh, well, now I can, because
so
obviously
like
I've seen them all. But no, like runs concurrently whenever if you haven't seen it before.
I think my streak of not watching it's going to be extended off the back of that review. No, and I don't mean that in any harm. I just don't think it's my type of.
It's not your cup of tea.
Type of show.
Yeah, I have wondered about pulling the trigger on
quite
this
shallow.
myself.
I'm quite shallow, and just a long, drawn-out story.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that being said, you never know. There's not enough time in the day. That's the only problem. I don't know how any of us squeeze anything in. Okay, that's Katie there with The Good Doctor. Loving it. It's on Disney Plus. We have also Vigil, which is available on BritBox, second series, and Michael's given that an 8.5. Aquaman 2, you liked?
I'd like to give it a 7. Yeah,
it'll be coming to your streaming platform, wherever it might
soon,
be. Probably Sky has it, I'm not quite sure. And so far, I give it a year on Netflix, which is a film that sounds like you can just sit and watch it for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and enjoy it.
Chill out, absolutely.
And that's about the height of it. Okay, back with more after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford. It took us 72 years to perfect our deliciously authentic Baker 51 sourdough bread. One bite and you'll agree true taste takes time.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price sale. Get up to 50% off all tiles. Wood flooring, bathware, cladding, everything's reduced. Tiles from only $8.99 per square yard and wood flooring from only $11.99 per square yard. Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price January sale extended until Bank Holiday Monday.
Easy Living Furniture's biggest ever winter sale ends this Sunday. This is your final chance to avail of these amazing discounts, as this whopper winter sale must end Sunday. Absolutely everything reduced across sofa, dining, bedroom, mattress and accessories. Winter sale must end Sunday at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Harkins have been providing customers with quality fireplaces, stoves and electric fires for over 30 years. And now you can experience the elegance of luxurious worktop from Harkins. Their experienced craftsmen can fabricate marble, quartz or granite worktops to your specification. So, if you're planning a new kitchen or bathroom or upgrading your existing one, Harkin Fireplaces can provide a quote for your quartz, marble or granite worktop. Visit their showroom in Ballybogan, Lifford or call 9141109 or visit them online at harkinfireplaces.ie.
Tesco Club Card gives you the power to lower prices to help you wave goodbye to the January blues and say hello to the bank holiday weekend. Like Pringles sour cream and onion 165 gram was €3.49, now €1.50. Doritos chili heatwave 150 gram was €2.79, now €2. And Coke Zero cans 24 pack was €19, now €10. Lower the cost of your shop with your Tesco Club Card or app. The power to lower prices. Tesco. Every little helps. Product subject to availability. Prices may vary in express stores.
Are you ready to elevate your driving experience? Look no further than iMotors, your only Nissan dealership in the Northwest. The Nissan X-Trail has been crowned Large SUV of the Year. That's right, it's not just an SUV, it's an award-winning experience on wheels. Available in 4-wheel drive and a 7-seater. Visit us today at imotors.ie to find out more.
Okay, you're welcome back to the show. And I'm really pleased to welcome onto the programme Little John Nee, who brings his show Nettle Horse this Saturday, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. to On Green on Theatre in Letterkenny. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you on the programme.
Thank you for having me, Greg. I'm delighted to be here.
No, it's our pleasure. Right, tell us about this new show that you're bringing to Letterkenny at the weekend.
Well, Nettle Horse is a show. It's set in the year. It's set at different times, but the near future, let us just say it's set in the near future at a horse fair. And it's a character who sells edible beetles, which is not really a very attractive selling point for a lot of people, but it's a comedy and it's very funny, I have to say. The reason I know it's very funny is people laugh when I'm doing it, you know. And
it's always a good indication, isn't it?
Yeah, because at this stage, sometimes I don't know what's funny and what's not funny, but the audiences are loving it. And if you look on the Ungraining site, website, ungraining.com, that has got vox pops of audience members all around the country saying how much they loved it. So I'm delighted because you never know how a show's going to go, particularly when they're odd shows. And I make shows, you know, and this one has taken off beyond my dreams, you know. It's just really good.
What stage do you know? Is it when it gets in front of an audience? Because I think there's very few of us would have the confidence really to enter the process, especially if it's a little bit, you know, not the mainstream as such, and then get out. I mean, is it really the first airing in front of a live audience that you twig? I mean, you have a strong indication, of course, with your experience and everything, but do you know what I mean? Because it's personal too, isn't it? This is your stuff.
Yeah, it is, and it's funny because I direct myself as well. So, but it's very funny. We were down in Listowel last night, and Leo Moran of the Saw Doctors came along. And I live in Tuam at the moment, you know, and Leo's a good friend of mine. So it was lovely that he was there because he saw it when it was in my shed. And I was saying, what's this like? Is it any good, you know? So he encouraged me through that. So he was able to be there last night when he could see how the audience responded. And just like you say, you don't know until you're out in front of the audience. And but you can't get, I really, honest to God, didn't expect it to go so well, because it's a little bit odd. It's set in the future. But if you notice the vox pops, people don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, and they go on a journey of sorts with you, don't you? So I think really that makes it subjective to the audience member, and maybe that's why it's hard to pin it down, because to each person it might be something slightly different.
You've hit the nail on the head there, and I emphasise that point as well, is because what people don't recognise is when a theatre fills full of people, you've got a collective imagination, you've got all these people, you're putting pictures into their heads, and everyone visualises differently. So everyone has a unique experience, and they relate things to their own lives and to their own experiences. So really, when you have an audience of 300 people or 200 people, or however many it is, they're going to have all different experiences, but there's some aspect that brings everybody together, you know.
I always think that's a great sign of good songwriting or good theatre writing, in that whilst someone might not have lived through a specific story or a tale or how it's being told or how the words are constructed in a song, it can feel personal to them or relevant to them. And I think when you get a piece of work that does that, I think that's when you really have connected with your audience.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I think, none of us have been at a horse fair in 2028. So it allows people to let go of a lot of their preconceptions, you know. It's wide open for experiencing, you know. But there are some references to like things like dock leaves. And you wouldn't be as old as me, but like dock leaves used to be very multi-purpose, put it like that. And apart from stinging nettles to cure it, there was lots of other little purposes that you just thought. So we
There's
go
a little
there.
song about an English country garden, isn't there? About picking up a leaf and what have you. Right. And also to just how you tell the story. It is storytelling. There's song in there as well. I want people to sort of have a great sense of, if they're deciding what to do tomorrow night, to have a good sense of the show that you're putting on. We know it's going to be funny. We know there's going to be a great story told. But for those who've not seen you work before, just the presentation of it.
Well, thanks very much for the opportunity to do this. As visually as beautiful. I mean, I would say that, of course, but you can see photographs of it as well online. But it's got a backdrop, a set. They've looked after it meticulously as well. You know, there's an old cart, rusty cart, so visually it's very stimulating. And there's characters, some very small costume changes. And I try to make it very stimulating visually. I'm very active during it, you know, leaping around the place. There's dancing in it. There's, as I say, there's music. All the music is played live. There's loop pedals, there's songs, there's incidental music, and like that, yeah, there's traditional storytelling, and there's laughs.
Brilliant. Okay. And the reason I didn't fall off my seat when you mentioned Mink selling edible beetles, because I had a beetle burgers in my hand in Aldi or Lidl there the other day, so it's not quite as shocking as it might want. Being beetle burgers, bug burgers they're called. Can't remember what they're called. Yeah, they've a whole range of burgers and made out of insects. Disgusting.
Yeah, there you go. Isn't that mad now?
Okay.
Just, maybe I'll cook up a couple of them for the show as well and
Why
give
not?
them out. Oh, yeah.
Come here, we're brainstorming, we're just jiving. Come here, listen, we have you here tomorrow night in on Greenon Theatre, Letterkenny at 8 p.m. I understand there are some seats available, but you have to get onto the box office ASAP. Little John Lee, lovely chatting to you. Thanks so much for joining us on the programme.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a lovely day and safe journey up, if you're not here already.
You might be able to make it yourself.
Indeed. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Thank you very much indeed, Little John Nee there, who, I didn't want to be ignorant, but I presume then he's referred to him as John. Don't you? Yeah. Little John Nee.
Yeah, but
you just...
His stage name is Little John. Yeah, yes, John.
But I was just a little bit, I didn't want to...
Yeah,
I
sure
hate
enough.
using... not using people's correct name.
Yep.
All right, we'll be back with Mickey and Catherine after we take this break.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford. It takes 18 hours to perfect our new 18-hour fermented sourdough bread. One bite and you'll agree true taste takes time.
Join the Highland Radio Outside broadcast team this Friday from 12 till 2:30 p.m. for a live broadcast from the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, for the start of the 3-day Donegal New Build and Rebuild Home Show. We will be speaking to some of the exhibitors and organisers to preview this event. Admission is free to the show.
Get the right tools or equipment to get the job done with great hire deals at Watson Hire in Letterkenny. Everything from diggers to power tools, dumpers to portaloos, and pressure washers to cherry pickers. Watson's offer a fast and reliable service. To book, call Watson Hire in Letterkenny on 9167777.
Well, Grace, how are you today?
I'm good. I've just been down to the made-to-measure fireplaces showroom in Creasla. They have an incredible selection of over 40 colours for kitchen worktops. And guess what? For a limited time, they're offering a 40% discount on any electric fire when you purchase a worktop there.
40%? That's an amazing deal, Grace.
Absolutely. And trust me, if the discount alone doesn't sway you, their huge selection of fireplaces, stoves, wood pellet burners, beams and stone cladding certainly will.
Contact Made to Measure Fireplaces Creasla on 074 91 38 365 on Facebook, Instagram and on mtmfireplaces.ie.
Donegal County Council is inviting applications for funding under the Regional Festivals and Participative Events Programme 2024. The closing date is the 23rd of February. Programme guidelines and application form can be accessed on the Donegal County Council website and social media, or by phoning 074 91 539 00.
We all want to keep children safe online. WebWise works to support young people, parents and teachers. Get involved in Safer Internet Day this February 6th. Visit webwise.ie for helpful guides, talking points, free resources on image sharing, gaming, social media and more. Brought to you by WebWise and supported by Comashuna Man.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. Building a new home? Choose Grant's A++ rated Airona air to water heat pump and Uflex underfloor heating. Visit grant.ie.
Okay, the weather forecast simply hasn't opened for me here. I don't know what's going on. But listen, it's going to be wet. It's going to be... What? I'm just saying.
Also windy.
Windy.
In case you need a...
Today, relatively mild, but a mostly cloudy and dull day with some scattered outbreaks of light rain and drizzle, some mist and hill fog too. And if you're sailing to work, it's going to be breezy with highest temperatures of 11 to 13 degrees. So that might help with the commute. Right, I want to let you know that we're not here on Monday, but the DL debate is on Monday night. Lots to go through. I think it's going to be a litmus test for Donegal on Sunday in the league. And Pádraig Hilferty is going to be joining Brendan Devaney in a semi-co-hosting position. He's going to be in throughout the year here and there. So he'll be dropping into studio at different times, as I mentioned, and they're going to be discussing all the GAA news. It's a huge weekend of action, of course. Guests on Monday night include Armagh legend Aaron Kiernan, Satanta, and Donegal hurling great Niall Cleary, and the new Lavey manager, Brendan Maguire. That's 7 p.m. this Monday night live, plus the podcast. And as I say, Pádraig and Brendan sort of doing a two-hander this week, and they're going to be doing that here and there throughout the course of the year, so that's something to look forward to. Greg, Superman had the worst superhero disguise ever. He put on a pair of glasses. No one recognised him. How many superheroes do we need? They're just tearing the arse out of it at this stage with all these franchises. I agree fully with that. I don't want to upset you, and I even don't want to offer you a retort, but I do believe, Michael, that they are. Aidan Murphy is live from the Mount Ergel Hotel, Letterkenny, after 12. He's at the Home Build and Rebuild event, which is running all this weekend. So he and Shannon and Joe and the team down there, so go in and say hello. Why don't you? And just before we finish up with Michael and Katie, March 2023, the National Dementia Inclusive Community Symbol was launched, and the symbol was created as a direct result of people with dementia wanting to see themselves represented and considered in the communities. It was developed in collaboration with people with dementia and those caring and or working to support them. The symbol acts as a sign of solidarity for people with dementia and their families, and also joins together all of the work and dedication that is happening locally to make an impact across our beautiful county. Since its launch, individuals, services, groups and businesses alike are displaying the symbol in local communities. For more info, by the way, you can go to understandtogether.ie or call 1800 341 341. And here's a little bit more information for you.
Dementia. And the importance of social interaction, being with each other, connecting and sharing experiences. But did you know social interaction plays a key role in helping people who are living with dementia? It's healthy, like exercise for the brain. And it supports well-being, which has positive benefits for the person. Staying socially engaged with friends and family has also been shown to boost self-esteem. A dementia-inclusive community enables people who are living with dementia to do just that, to live. Whether that's staying connected to or joining a club, taking up a hobby or visiting their local shop. Being with each other to talk and share experiences nurtures the soul and gives a sense of belonging. You can be that connection. Display the National Dementia Inclusive Community symbol in your organisation, community group or club. By displaying the symbol, you are helping to build dementia-inclusive communities and showing that people with dementia and their loved ones are supported in your area. For free training and more information, visit understandtogether.ie or call the national helpline provided by the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland on free phone 1800 341 341 from the HSC.
Okie doke, and great to be involved in that. all week. Okay, I'm off to the St. Bridget's Weekend Festival in Bundoran this weekend. Ooh, excellent. What's on? Tell us more. Sounds exciting. Hi all, watched Mr. Bates versus the Post Office. Heartbreaking story, which is still playing out as we speak. After watching the first episode, I ended up watching it all in one night, and that's definitely one I'm going to try and get a watch with. And it is developing all the while, because I think... one of the people at the call centres of I can't remember what it is, that was dealing with the postmasters and mistresses has given their first interview today, so that's never happened before. My daughter and I are off to Angildé this evening for a fun night at On Grianon. Can't wait for a great laugh. Katie, yours is a lovely weekend, I would see it from my perspective and your perspective.
Yeah.
Very kid-orientated.
Kid-orientated is right, so... all the ball pits and the slides.
Gonna get a hammer in tonight? Or later in the weekend, whenever. We don't have to tell you exact location and when.
Yeah. And all the bits and pieces, all the kids been brought here, brought there, brought everywhere all over the weekend, and then finish off Monday night, go out for dinner with the husband.
All right.
For adult time.
There, Mo.
Very, very rare is the adult time. But sure.
Adult conversation.
Yeah,
the economy. What do you think of the economy? Yeah.
But you know what? No, what
You're
ends
in
up
for a
happening
surprise,
is...
though, because my understanding is that you might have misinterpreted it, because he said he'd reserved a table for us on Monday night. You're going playing snooker.
Yeah, exactly. And then what ends up happening is you go out and you go, but aren't they great kids? And then you don't stop talking about them. So it's like, for
do you know what
God's
Molly
sake.
did today?
So she's rough.
But do you not find when you plan something, like if I'd planned that for me, see, like Monday afternoon, I would start feeling exhausted, and I'd be like, oh God, I can't be bothered, and I have to be spontaneous. If it's planned, I'm like, oh really? Should we leave it till Wednesday? Do you know what I mean? Two for one on a Tuesday.
I get that, because I'm a little bit on the flighty side myself, but no, I love going out for dinner. It's my favourite thing. I just love going out for dinner. I just, yeah.
Yeah, no, because it's nice to be, and this is thanks to the fantastic places we have. Sometimes it's just nice to feel that you're being treated to.
Yeah, and it's getting. I think the restaurants and the quality of the food locally and everything is getting better and better all the time. So yeah.
It's Michael, your weekend, obviously rehearsals for your secret tech gig.
Secret, and I'm getting it's not on stage, but behind the scenes. Just
he's
tomorrow.
Doing a tech thing.
I'm doing a tech thing.
That's never been done before.
That's never been done before. I think.
Have you tried switching it off and on?
It's never been done by me. Let's put it that way. But I don't think it's ever been done quite like this on Green. It's going to be very exciting.
Kevin says, hi Greg and TV Treats. Darts is back on the telly tonight, but I hear Luke Littler got his own back by defeating Luke Humphreys in a recent quarter-final. That's the dart with a heart, indeed. And it was last night. They were playing the Premier League of darts last night. Luke Littler won one and lost one. The Bully, which is a very interesting name, beat him in the league last night. Did you know today's Groundhog Day? As February the 2nd from 12:30 GMT. With the Groundhog Show, it's Shadow at Gobbler's Knob and Face and Second Winter. Now, I don't know what's just been said. I read it in good faith.
Yes.
Now, if I've offended anyone...
Do you not know about it, no?
Gobbler's Knob?
This is this whole thing of, you know about the Groundhog Show.
I don't know anything about Gobbler's Knob.
It's a good movie though, Groundhog Day.
Yeah, it is a good movie as well, yeah.
Get onto the Groundhog Day part of that conversation. And it's a good movie.
I genuinely don't know what's going on. Is that in the film?
No, I don't think so.
What does that reference then?
Well, maybe it is in the film. But
should I Google it? Am I in trouble?
It's meant to be. No, you're not. You're okay. You're on safe ground.
Okay,
you're on safe ground as far as that. Yeah, no.
Sky Cinema did Groundhog Day. They kept playing it all day. Do they still do that?
Do they actually?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They repeat the film.
But how do you know? How can you tell?
It's got to be an all-time fave film, simple but superb. Some say it was just remade, just play the same film again. No one knows how long the cycle was for. 12 years, 6 months. This is like you talking about Aquaman to me. Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate that. Hopefully I'm still on air on Tuesday. I haven't a clue what's going on, genuinely. Right, okay.
This is brilliant.
How is it?
This is live radio at its best. I'm loving this. It's hilarious. It's really good.
Right, okay. American Nightmare on Netflix. Is this the 3-part documentary?
It is.
It's very good. Liked it.
You watched it?
I did.
Good. I'm glad that, because I'm curious to think what you liked it anyway, but It's interesting because it's been deemed, or it's been pitched on social media as this next Gone Girl sort of, or the real life Gone Girl kind of thing. I don't know what he's laughing at.
I'm still laughing at that thing. I think it was just brilliant. It was just funny, the whole thing.
We call him Ron Burgundy for the rest of the show. So it's been pitched as this sort of real life Gone Girl story. Little bit inaccurate, to be fair.
The one thing I would say is, if you're watching it, don't know anything about it and forget the Gone Girl reference.
Exactly.
Just
and
watch
I didn't.
It as a 3-act.
Yes, a 3-act show.
Exactly.
That is a docuseries. But it's like that. I didn't read that reference until afterwards, and I was like, it's kind of.
But I think that kind of the way it was covered by the American media, because in the American media you can say someone's guilty, or you can say whatever.
And that's really the premise of it.
Yeah.
So this is a story of a fella that rings up the police to say that they had a home invasion in the night and his girlfriend has been taken.
And
so
the story,
that's how it starts.
his
it's
version of events is ridiculous.
Yes.
No one could believe the circumstances of this home invasion and kidnap.
Yes, correct.
It's crazy.
Correct. And basically watch it unfold. There is it's quite evident, and again, myself and Fionnuala were talking about this, there is a slight propaganda to these things. Like they want you to believe a certain way about the police or whatever over in the States, but there's no doubt that there is a level of negligence to this case. They made a decision very early on about it, and that's what they ran with, and they didn't really they didn't investigate anything else.
Is this a bit like The Staircase?
No, it's cut and dry. It's a remarkable story, and it's played out in 3 parts. And the problem is like, the way the first part ended to set up the second part, and the way the second part ended, if you don't know what we're talking about, it's far more enjoyable.
Yes,
if you know what I mean. Now, I think to some extent, even the picture that the Netflix used sort of give away the filmmaker's reveal of the second episode and the third, which is kind of unfortunate. But I would highly recommend it. I thought it was great.
Yes.
I
Also,
really
another thing that
it's just 10 seconds, if that's okay.
Okay, just the media over in the States and how they portray things, and then have to go back on themselves with no apology
and stuff, and also no accountability amongst the police force as well, it seems.
Correct. Yeah.
Katie, thank you so very much indeed.
Thank you.
Now you can contact Katie as well through the website, The Outlet, which is also the name of a pipe that your poo comes out of. By the way, that is also what an outlet is. It takes your poo and wee out of the house, but it's also what we call the shop.
Is this why you cut me 10 seconds short so you could give that fact?
Really? I feel like we traded there. I feel like I should have. Could we just let Katie talk more?
We'll see you next week. Can't wait. Michael Leddy there, writer and blogger. Katie McGee too, from us here at Highland Radio. Stay tuned. Aidan's live from the Mount Errigal for a special outside broadcast, all coming up after the news at 12. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and forward your complaints to Michael Leddy, letter Kenny.
Yes.
The 9 till noon show with O'Hara's of Foxford. We take 18 hours to craft our new 18-hour fermented sourdough bread. Now's the perfect time to enjoy a slice.
On the wings of a snow.
Hot Country TV Sky 588 in association with Highland Radio present in concert a tribute to country music legend Charlie Pride by his brother Stephen and 6-piece band with guests at the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, Wednesday 27th of